So I say most people believe there is something dramatically wrong in this country. They're not sure what it is.
Got your labor next your soul, interest slave in endless hole. It's so deep you'll never leave, a text on key with no reprieve. Interest banking, future sold, paper money, fuck the gold. Print more money, there's no end, new interest rates thanks to the Fed. Inflation's up, we can't afford to import, source an endless hoard. Funding all this endless war, these the whores I must ignore. Feeling good, yeah that's my price. The system lets me have my vice. Bread and circus feels nice, feeling bad, take this advice. Just take this pill, watch TV, smoke weed and chill. Football parties, man the grill, watch some porn, drain your vril. Endless pleasure, wait until the lights go out, the lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out, the lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. Never thought that this would happen, should've prepped instead of fapping. Tires screeching, people scream, living nightmare, not a dream. There goes all my dopamine, wiping off my jerk-off cream. I'm flabby, weak and unprepared to own a gun, I'm really scared. Water filters, batteries, cans of food and MREs. I really should've bought that shit before the social fabric ripped. Atomized, I'm all alone, no internet, can't scroll my phone. The lights go out, the lights are out. The lights go out. Came on, I can't believe, breathe a sigh of great relief. Boy, I love modernity, endless goon sesh never leave. If you're sad, just take this pill. Watch TV, smoke weed and chill. Football parties, man the grill. Watch some porn, join your grill. Endless pleasure, wait until the lights go out, the lights are out.
My fellow Americans.
The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out. The lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out.
My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes. Welcome back to Library of Mass Destruction. I am your host, Capitalisimo. With me, as always, is Christopher Sandbatch. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, much better than I was doing a couple of days ago. Like I said, first of all, I have a complaint, which is that we're in the dog days of summer. Do you know the origin of that phrase, the dog days of summer?
I don't.
It's when the dog days of summer, roughly from July 3rd to August 10th, and that's whenever the dog star Sirius rises with the sun. So, but
really,
yeah, and it corresponds almost. This is it's an astronomical sign that cultures all over the world used, and they either independently came to the same conclusion about it, or there was one massive global white uber civilization that handed down artifacts to the lessers, depending on how you look at it. But,
you don't think it was Yakub, right? So you're saying you're not an Orthodox Yakubian.
Yeah. So, but the dog days of summer, it's so motherfucking hot that you can I'm sitting in air conditioning right now and I can feel my skin radiating heat into the atmosphere. I can you know what I'm talking about?
I poured sweat. I poured back sweat out of my gun when I took it off today.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. It was absolutely vile. Completely unbelievable.
No, but wait,
it is unbelievably hot.
before we get to the particulars, yeah, it's like I survived. I have another one of these incidents where I should be dead. So like Oswald Arts, and if you're bitching about my personality, you shouldn't have Sandbatch's personality.
It's going to change permanently because of your concussion.
You shouldn't, you shouldn't have Sandbatch to bitch about anymore. I was in a car accident on Highway 65 in Arkansas a couple of days ago that involved my car rolling over 4 times. Rolled it over 4 fucking times, and again somehow walked away from it. It's the second time in my life I've had just a terrible car accident, and I've walked away from it.
Powerful barrel roll. Yeah, that is amazing. You glad that you are safe-ish and sound. Although sorry about your massive financial catastrophe.
Yeah, there is that massive financial catastrophe. It's actually so bad I'm probably gonna have to ask for help, but that's neither here nor there. And
you know, I did just see on Facebook Marketplace a beautiful looking Subaru Brat for just $9,500 with the rear facing seats in the bed behind it. Working 8-track player. Absolutely cherry condition. I feel like you're giving Brat right now. So perhaps
those cars are great, but they're expensive to maintain. There's always shit going wrong with them.
It's the all-wheel drive. That's what does it on the Subarus. But yeah. You should pick one of those.
I didn't know Subaru had even been in the United States long enough for that.
For there to be weird 1980s cars that they made.
Yeah, I thought Subaru entered the US market in 2008 when they began marketing the world's only car targeted directly at lesbian couples.
You mean the Subaru Brap?
It's the Forester, isn't it?
It is the Forester. The Forester, although lesbians now drive Jeep Wranglers.
That's true. I was going to say, like, this is like the New Orleans white person stack. There's there's white people in New Orleans, and like
I think the Subaru Outback is like liberal white guy who married an Asian. That's the family car. So,
there are no white conservatives in the city of New Orleans. They all live in Jefferson Parish. So like when you see a white person in the city of New Orleans, you can assume that they're not only a shit lib, but they're a yimby.
I too live in a city that is very much like that. And though I would not consider myself a conservative, I would consider myself a secret third thing.
Yeah. The secret third thing that it tends to get YouTube strikes for some fucking reason.
I almost bought my wife a Subaru this week. In any case,
hey, dude, Oswald, I am pretty shitlib coded. There's no way around it. I'm spending time around me. I seem like, if you spent time around me, your take would be that I was the kind of shitlib that you didn't mind being around.
You're Sandbatch. You're like the you hit the $1 million like 1/3 of a Wheel of Fortune tile that's right between two bankrupts, which is why you are coded that way.
Yeah. Like it's like the gears of history that had to grind perfectly to create me. I mean, like you needed Hurricane Katrina and like all kinds of fucking weird shit. Like it's a strange path.
Yep, that's right.
George W. Hayduke says in NOLA, their crust punks will eventually go back to living in their parents' summer house in Boulder. We do have a lot of crust punks, but not so many crust punks lately because the blacks have started just killing them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The thing about, I mean, also NOLA is so hot and humid that it really forms more of a paste than a crust. You need to get that humidity down for the crust to form.
I do like. I mean, there's a picture. I posted a picture of myself on my Twitter, a selfie, and it's true.
Yeah.
that every male selfie is a cry for help and attention, and bringing attention to it on stream is even worse. But you can actually see the characteristics of a New Orleans summer where, like, obviously, like, the like ability to give a shit is gone. It's like yeah, I could like brush my hair or some shit. I could comb my hair. I could shave. I could do some shit. It would be better for like an hour, and then it would go back to like the women are like the women have like this is a point in summer. Women all but stop wearing clothes. Like, and you know, it's got some upsides and some downsides because there's some, you know, but I mean, you just can't maintain any standards here this time of year. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just buttholes hanging out style thing, or what's going on? What's going on? I'm trying to conceptualize the aroma of New Orleans right now.
What does the city smell like? There's a great line in the stage notes to Streetcar Named Desire that sort of get into it a little bit. And it's sort of like the smell of rotten fruit, human piss, salt, and black mold.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's like smell. That kind of, so it's like that. So black mold's an interesting smell because you know, most people think, oh, musty, right? But when you actually get into a space that has black mold that's really out of control, it smells like fish. If you walk into a place that is not near anywhere that there could be fish, and it smells like low tide has come in, that is black mold. That is stuff that will set up shop inside of your lungs. That's what a rotting building smells like.
And like, yeah, I mean, all of the buildings here have it to one extent or another. All of them. Like, there's no way to keep it out. There's because it's like the ambient environment. There's a reason people die 10 years younger here than they do everywhere.
They just boil inside of their own skin.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in the winter here is actually kind of miserable too. Like, one of the things people don't tell you about the winter in New Orleans is that, like, you know, people will come here in the winter and it'll only be like 50 degrees or something like, but it's like the coldest ass 50 degrees you can imagine because it's like damp and like
because it's like 97% humidity.
Yeah. So the winters are correspondingly miserable in their own way. And so like, but it is true that like in like spring and in autumn, Southern Louisiana gets this like veneer and it's the most comfortable place in the world. And then of course, then people just go fucking buck ass wild. Those are the tourist seasons.
Right. I miss Wisconsin winters because while they do get cold, you also get a shitload of snow, which makes everything feel better. Like, snow is amazing. Yeah. I don't understand how people get it. Like, snow cures seasonal depression, but if you have gray skies and like shitty weather that puts a chill through you, and you don't have the benefit of snow, that's when people start looking at the ceiling fan and wondering how much weight it'll hold.
Yeah.
But
that's too. It's just gray and rainy.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of gray and rainy, we need to finish up this chapter on Jimmy Carter before we get to everyone's favorite Ronnie Reagan.
Ronnie Reagan. I was going to point out that I promised everyone we were going to finish this book today. Apparently,
you fucking lied to everybody.
There are 90 pages left. So
there's 90 pages left. It is not occurring today.
We turned the corner on Call It Conspiracy, and it was longer than I anticipated.
Yeah, that's right. Although that's good because it allows us a little more time to sift through the suggestions that Wendy Painting PhD provided for the subsequent book. It seems like season 2 is going to be 3 books. So
the
season 3 will be 6 books.
Red Heine Monkey says, while my Italian DNA makes me love summer, my Polish DNA allows me to also like snow and winter. I would point out that I had at my prep school, one of the priests had a book of jokes, and he was ancient. He was like 80, okay? And he had
all
this,
Polish jokes.
they were all Polish jokes on one side, but if you flip the book over, they were the exact same joke, but they were Italian jokes.
Red Heine Monkey's parents got that book at their wedding. And he grew up learning nothing but those jokes. I wish that I had a good. I don't have any good. I don't have any good Polish jokes that aren't like the obvious ones, like screen door on a submarine type shit.
I don't know anything. Actually, the very mention of Poland still causes like neuroleptic seizures.
You're having a seizure right now because of Poland.
Yeah. Christ of nations.
They weren't independent for a long time, and then they gained independence. And what have they done with it?
And they lost it again, and they got it back again. It's a complicated story.
Where are the winged hussars? That's what I'm wondering. Why don't we have Polish mech? Why don't we have Polish Gundams with wings on the back? They're just waiting. They're still using an eagle. As an emblem.
Have you ever seen?
No one can tell them apart from the Albanian eagle. It's tragic.
Have you ever seen somebody? Gabe says the winged hussars were overrated. That is an interesting take. I don't understand. I'm sure there's just some like sort of base level Slavic blood feud. This
is basic Croatian molding.
Yeah, like what is
going on.
that? What is the what Croatian shit do the winged hussars aggravated?
All right. Well, we're gonna before we start working our way through the rest of Eastern Europe to make fun of them all one by one. I think we're going to go on to make fun of Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
But something strange was starting to happen. The media, all across the political spectrum, were picking up and publicizing the fact that the new faces on the Carter team were the same old establishment players, especially in foreign policy. Robert A. Manning wrote in Penthouse, the soft porn monthly that mixed libertarianism with libertinism, that there can be no doubt that David Rockefeller and his Trilateral Commission have succeeded in seizing control of America's foreign policy. So what else was new? Okay, speaking of so what else was new, what the hell is libertarianism without libertinism? Like, what is the goddamn point?
Wait, what was the name of the magazine? I'm looking for it because it just
Penthouse.
Caught me.
Penthouse magazine. The
it's
porn
an
magazine that still exists.
Interesting to call it a libertarian magazine. That's so strange.
Well, maybe at the time. Who knows?
All of
the porn magazines were, right?
I don't think so. I had to Playboy did not. Playboy was always like Playboy entered the market highbrow and stayed there,
Fair enough. Wait, didn't Playboy take the porn out a few years ago and just do articles now? It's just articles now, I think. Interesting. You never hear anything about Playboy articles. I feel like the 70s, the 60s and 70s, fuck, maybe even the 80s, they had like real serious articles in them.
They were. There's make a serious argument that Playboy in the late 70s and 1980s was the peak of magazine culture.
Plausible.
I just saw like I saw a Playboy featuring Natasha Kinski, her like sort of shoot, and it was like incredibly highbrow. But I mean, you used to get I posted some shit from Playboy the other day, and it had like Barry Hannah, Barry Hannah in it or some shit like that, Kurt Vonnegut, and then
honestly, this is there is space in the online like broader right to take the sort of to sublimate the whole vitalism thing into into something like, I mean, like if Man's World had pinups of e-girls in it.
You need a budget for that.
And hated.
Cairo's
Yeah.
kind of trying to do that, I think. With like Futurist letters. A couple of the bigger,
yeah, but he's not putting porn in it.
Right. A couple of the bigger outlets, like the Blaze has Frontier magazine,
but they're never gonna fucking do that.
They're never gonna put like Kinski tits in there, which they should God, yeah, like that should totally be a thing. It should absolutely be a thing that we should get like we should get e-girl tits. Basically, we should get Gabe on it. Like Gabe, we need to go get funding for a magazine with e-girl tits.
Yeah, I mean, most of them have an OnlyFans anyway, so it should be pretty easy. But yeah, the moderate U.S. News and World Report for February 21st, 1977, picked up the theme. The trilateralists have taken charge of foreign policy making in the Carter administration. And already the immense power they wield is sparking some controversy. Active or former members of the Trilateral Commission now had every key agency involved in mapping U.S. strategy for dealing with the rest of the world. Altogether, 16 high posts in the administration are held by men and women associated with that organization. Some see this concentration of power as a conspiracy at work. Wow, I wonder what group is overrepresented among trilateralists. I wouldn't hazard a guess, but we'll just assume that the trilateralists are a completely representative demographic slice of the United States at the time.
Overrepresented with members of the Skull and Bones secret society.
Yeah. San Francisco, not a foreskin among them. Yeah. The San Francisco Examiner political writer W.E. Barnes called the trilateralists a true elite comprised of what many have called America's shadow government. Leaders in business, industry, international finance, and law. They move easily in and out of high positions in the private sector and government through a network of school, club, and business associations. That network, or open conspiracy of insiders, was becoming too it can't be a conspiracy if it's open.
I was
pointing out that this is an open network of people who share all of these associations in common is exactly what I've been saying the entire time we read this book. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy when it's socially enforced.
Hey, this secret open group of quasi elite that form the shadow government that are, oh, by the way, also the subject of think pieces by such like path-breaking, muckraking, obscure publications as the San Francisco Examiner, the Atlantic, and Time Magazine.
Yeah, what a secret! Oswald Art, didn't they already make a cheesecake calendar and that was lame? Yeah, they did. Redheaded Libertarian and some other like slop accounts.
No, fuck that shit.
But the problem is you have to be like a man like Sandbatch would not have accepted a submission from someone like the Redheaded Libertarian. He would have needed it to be weird.
We're going we're getting like Bronze Age shoddy the fucking centerfold. That's what we're doing.
Pagliacci the Hated can get it for real. We go with Shoe on Head. Yeah, that'll be the big take.
She's aged out.
I mean, I'm 41, sir, so it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. So let's see here. That network or open conspiracy of insiders was becoming too obvious to hide under a bushel basket of peanut shells. In the Atlantic, Christopher Lydon, who covered the presidential campaign for the New York Times in 1972 and 1976 and moved on to public television, took cognizance of the fact that Times 1975 advertising in other magazines for its own campaign coverage looked more like an ad for Jimmy Carter. Through 1976 and 1977, Times hagiographers were hard to separate from the Carter promotional staff. Wow, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I like that word, hagiographer. I love it.
Yeah. Hagiography is I think I might have occasion to use that once a month. But it's always it is actually almost always in reference to exactly this phenomenon.
Right. Yeah.
That Larry just pointed out. It's like, oh, you mean the hagiography of Joe Biden that fell apart after the first debate or something like that? It would be a case. Yeah. Yes. Or the hagiography.
I also like wig. I like wig historian too. I got to use that one last night in a tweet. I like the wig. It's pretty much the same. It's got the same connotation. Wig history, sir. You are doing wig history.
Was wig history? Was that phrase invented? Was that Carlisle or was it actually Moldbug?
Do you want to do the thing?
What? The engram?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much detail do you want here?
Go for it. Yeah, go off.
So the wig history. This is one of the things where Yarvin and I actually are working. Yarvin and I dovetail really closely on a few points. One of the points we dovetail on is
scissoring.
One of the points we dovetail on is that we both will start talking about the world in granular detail around the year 1714, which was the year a group called the Whig Junto seized power. No, it's not Carlisle. It's even older than that. Okay, it's an actual phrase that's probably been used as long as the English have been writing their own history. So the Whigs were not the OG progressives. Oh my fucking God, no. But anyway, okay. So the group of people called the Whigs seized power through like what was called this very strange, the Hanover succession, which is how power passed from the Stuart dynasty into the German dynasty via like something like the 42nd cousin of like Queen Anne. It was pretty wild. It was like very sketchy sort of thing. But this group called the Whig Junto started running England with like sort of this Hanoverian dynasty as their sort of front. And one of the things they produced was a lot of actual like formal histories. This is the generation of the first time people really sit down to write histories of the English or histories of the English. And one of the things the Whig historians are going to tend to use, the formal Whig historian is going to tend to frame all of history as the ascent of the English people, everything before the English come into existence is prelude to the English existence. Everything since then has justified the ends of the current English regime. So all of history exists specifically to justify our guys who are in power right now. Okay, and that's the formal meaning of Whig history. It has since been used to describe it's been sort of relaxed to describe anybody that's doing what you would call regime hagiography. But I mean, there is like in the real, like I like Whig historians. They're very cool. They have like this.
I would say it's the average case. The average, if you're not doing revisionist history, you're doing Whig history.
Yeah, that's the way it's currently sort of taken. Gabe says, I'm pretty sure the term Whig is about 80 years older than Carlisle. Okay, so it's going to be it really first enters the popular vernacular in the late 17th century, and this is around the same time that people start wearing wigs, and the wearing of wigs is associated with the petty aristocracy, the burger class, the new money. If you ever see that old, if you're familiar with,
and the conservatives were relatively heavy set, so they were shopping at Torrid. Hence the name Tory.
Well, at this point, the aristocracy itself they're not really dressing like what you would think of as aristocrats. They're kind of shabby. They got long hair. They don't shave, that sort of thing. They're not doing anything that sets them apart as the aristocracy in England, really, because they have their name that does it. I am I'm the Duke of Northumberland, so I'm Northumberland. but this younger, this newer group of like sort of like baronets and sort of barons, and then like the class of people that we refer to as gentlemen, who are right underneath the Whig like right underneath the formal register of aristocrats. They don't have like lands and titles to like base their identity on, so they start doing conspicuous consumption, and that's like the
bourgeois.
Yeah. That's what I said. Burger.
Yeah.
That's the Germanization of bourgeoisie.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for a brief history of Whig history, Christopher Sandbatch, noted local historian.
Listen when Gabe says, "What's Sandy's take on the English Civil War and all the leveler trickery going on?"
We are not doing that.
That is a whole other series of podcasts.
We are not fucking doing this. Yeah. We're gonna read what's his name who wrote the Civil War. What?
Oh, you mean Shelby?
No,
Foote?
No. The American Civil War.
Yeah. The American Civil War was Shelby Foote.
Yeah. Well, that's the Library of Mass Destruction. Sherman's March edition. It would take us 150 episodes.
Yeah, no,
it would take us
way more than that. We'd get through like 2 pages an episode. It's like those pages are dense.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. After all, Times editor-in-chief Hedley Donovan, CFR, Trilateral Commission. Why did Larry Abraham is not saying TC for Trilateral Commission, but he's abbreviating the Council on Foreign Relations as CFR. Total disrespect to the Council on Foreign Relations.
Well, that was the last book.
Yeah, fair enough.
That
was Gary Allen's innovation.
Yeah.
They could have really padded the book length by doing it, by spelling it out every single time. Had recommended Carter to George Franklin, David Rockefeller's college roommate and executive director of the Council on Foreign Relations. See, he was his fucking college roommate. Okay. Like, this is how, like, it's not like there was a vast conspiracy that put these two guys in contact. They got shit-faced together a bunch during their formative years. Like, that's how these groups are formed. So
now the Whig historian's take on this is that was Providence.
Okay. I mean, fine, I guess.
I was just providing an example.
Yeah, it was providential that these two men should drink many a lager and Eiffel Tower a couple hoes. Like, or I mean, I guess when David Rockefeller was in college, it probably wasn't called Eiffel Towering.
It's incredible the bond that forms between new men that Eiffel Tower and a hoe.
It's so true. It's so true. Two Gentiles doing it to a Jewess is called an archetypus. Anyway, Donovan was later rewarded with the presidential plum. One hand washes the other. All left hands in these cases. That sounds weirdly sexual. That sounds saying one hand washes the other, all left hands in these cases, sounds more sexual than what I just said about Eiffel Towering a bitch. That sounds like someone daisy chaining hand jobs. That's what that sounds like.
That's definitely the implication.
Yeah. Nevertheless, even though Chris Lydon's Atlantic piece was revealing, he felt obliged to include this caveat. I observe here the ban on conspiracy theories in mainstream American journalism and political discussion. So unfashionable are conspiracy theories that if indeed a photograph had been preserved from 1973 or 1974 of several American members and aides of David Rockefeller's Trilateral Commission, such men as Richard Holbrooke, now an Assistant Secretary of State, Warren Christopher, the Undersecretary of State, their immediate supervisor, Cyrus Vance, who had been, among other things, chairman of the trustees of the Rockefeller Foundation, Treasury Secretary Michael Blumenthal, Defense Secretary Harold Brown, National Security Council Director Brzezinski, and the NSC's analyst of Soviet intentions, Samuel P. Huntington, also then Senator, now Vice President Walter F. Mondale, and a formerly obscure but promising Georgia governor, now President Jimmy Carter, if, as I say fancifully, some indisputable record had been preserved from 3 or 4 years ago of these men signing blood oaths to remember and honor their fellowship if and when one of them came to power, most editors, commentators, and indeed politicians would have clucked disparagingly that only nuts think power works that way in America. Maybe they are right.
It's worth pointing out the Samuel Huntington mentioned is, in fact, the same Samuel Huntington that wrote Clash of Civilizations.
Mm-hmm. Who is nuts? The conservative
is he nuts?
ground. No.
Oh,
who is nuts? I'm reading. The conservative groundbreakers of this subject, the authors who dared call it conspiracy back in 1972, those who have long been calling a spade, or the Johnnies come lately who want not to believe what they see. In the same issue of Atlantic back in the summer of 1977, a top trilateralist is quoted by Jeremiah Novak in The Trilateral Connection. Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, C. Fred Bergstein, says of his establishment comrades, liberal internationalism is our creed, yet peanut farmer populism was a good bandwagon on which to ride. Admits Bergstein of the global plans, after every major war in this century, Americans sought a new world order. Wilson pushed the League of Nations. Roosevelt and Truman constructed the UN Bretton Woods system. And now, after Vietnam, Jimmy Carter gives us the trilateral plan. Yes, but he had railed against these very unholy, self-perpetuating alliances. Which leads us to the question being asked around Washington, D.C. in the late 1970s. Question: why won't Jimmy Carter's image ever be carved on Mount Rushmore? A, because there isn't room for two more faces.
Statler and Waldorf laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, it's wild. I first of all just want to point out how much I love magazine culture from the late 70s. I love it so much, you know, like this is just like there's this point in time in America where there just exists. This is where that phrase chattering class comes from. There's this whole group of people who don't do anything but sit around. The things they did differently, they sat around drinking all day and just making up gossip about one another. And they went and wrote about it in the most illustrious magazines in the world and forced it down everybody's throat. And I like always feel like it must have been very fucking powerful to do that. Like it must have felt really good to be able to do that.
Probably felt amazing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also,
Sex freakmen, they're literally me.
Yeah. Yeah. I also point out that the dog whistling in that paragraph was wow. Like
wow,
you couldn't,
that's a yikes from me. That's a yikes from me, dog.
Yeah.
God. So yeah, I mean, the problem is that this is so. None dare call it conspiracy and call it conspiracy have the same problem, which is they understand that these networks are formed informally in most cases. And like the fact that the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission are, quasi-government entities that hold power and people join them when they have these social connections, is like not in and of itself a like, what do you do with this information? It's like, oh yeah, that, it's just a list. It's like, so who the up and comers are, like, that they're that they all have the same goals. All right, well, nowadays everyone feels that way. But I suppose when this book came out, maybe some people still thought that the government was that the explicit power was also the implicit power, and politicians said what they meant. Like, is that believable at all? Or
dude, I do remember a time, and I've noticed that it's actually shifted back like this kind of naivete has actually shifted back towards shit libs. But I do remember a time when you could pretty much tell by the look on a conservative's face whenever they came to the conclusion that like these informal networks exist, and like there used to be a script for it, and it was probably I'm sure reading this book like thousands down this rap, but they all went outside and started shouting it to one another at one time, and it's like you could like tell when a conservative has become privy to this information because they're like a Chinese man that's been dropped in fucking New York City, and they just look around and they see things and they just have to describe things as they see them. Like there is large list of rich people and they just share job back and forth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so part of my baseline thinking and has been for so long that it's weird to have it pointed out like a revelation, and that's been a huge point of resistance for me this entire time reading this book, you know. But yeah, the symbolism, it's like they want you to do like the movie Network and go to the window and shout, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore."
Right,
like
yeah.
that's the action. That's the action plan.
Haven't they quoted the Network already? They've actually quoted that movie.
Did they quote Network? Yeah, they may have.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Do that. Actually, and so tangentially related here. When people are saying, well, don't go to college, right? And advising young men not to go to college, what you are doing is you are shutting them out of these networks. You are completely stopping the formation of these networks, because
that one just makes total nonsense to me.
What? Don't go to college?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Like that's why you shouldn't go to a state school. Like, don't go to an affordable college. Go to the most expensive place you can get into. If you can get into Harvard, you should go to Harvard.
Do you know what's interesting?
It is not more responsible of you to go to Iowa State, unless you are literally a linebacker.
There are a couple of exceptions here, and this is like one of the weird things about specifically the Southern political economy.
Yeah.
If you go look at a lot of times
okay, like LSU is like its own thing, and like there are some state schools that's
like, if you're in Texas, if you're in the state of Texas, it is actually like, depending on what part of Texas you're from. I mean, really, University of Texas or Texas A&M or maybe Baylor or SMU, all of those colleges position you better in Texas politics than an Ivy League school does. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's true. But that's if you want to do Texas politics. But if you want to do national politics, you go to an Ivy. That is what Ivies are. Like, that is what Ivies are. They are the feeders for U.S. national and international power. Like, that's what they do.
Now, there's an interesting distinction as well, which is like, because there is a fork in the path. There is a fork in the power path here, where like there's a state level career tree and a federal career tree.
And there are also, like, if you want to say, like, if you want to have a career that keeps you in one specific city, there is, so it's like, take a metro area. There is usually a college that will give you an excellent chance of doing something at statewide level politics or like broader regional politics. And there's one that is a different one that gives you the entree into city politics. And they're not the same ones. Like, the strongest school is not the one that whose alums are running the city that it's in. Typically, it's the second tier one. So like, you are in let's say Chicago, University of Chicago, that's the top tier. That's the top school. And like Loyola is what you're going to do if you want to be a city operator or something, something to that effect, right?
So here, let me look at this. So just to see how this. I took take a look at the congressional delegations. This is all of the members of Congress.
Yep.
Actually, let me add the senators too, because I want to know how that works. Okay, so yeah, from Louisiana, of the members of Congress, we have 6 now. We're down to 6. We used to have 7. I remember when Louisiana had 9. That's how catastrophic Louisiana's collapse has been in the last few decades. But LA 1, Steve Scalise, LSU, every single member of Louisiana's congressional delegation went to
LSU.
No, one went to Xavier and one went to Southern, and those are
okay.
those are the 2 black ones, and those are historically black colleges.
Yeah.
In Texas. Again, so in Texas, you start to see, oh man, no, there is not a single Ivy Leaguer. Oh, there's one. You have to get all the way down to Texas 24. Beth Van Doyne went to Cornell, and then Brandon Gill in Texas 26 went to Dartmouth. What is Texas 26? Oh man, I can't get sidetracked. I'll do state politics forever. I love state level politics. It is my crack cocaine.
Yeah, I should have gone to Dartmouth, but I chose a different school.
That's deep Sandbatch lore. I wanted to go to Dartmouth more than any. Have I told that story?
Oh, I got in, but I didn't go because I followed a bitch. I followed a bitch. Different school. Yeah.
Oh, mine's even worse. I got into Harvard and Yale. And I got waitlisted at Dartmouth, and I waited. Dartmouth turned me fucking down. Oh, and so I didn't go to Harvard or Yale either.
Great.
I went to College of Charleston and then LSU.
Well, that's why we're here instead of in the Council on Foreign Relations.
Yeah, that's exactly. Do you know I've had a very prominent e-girl tell me before. A very prominent e-girl tell me on her response to that story was, your life would have been very different had you made the other decision. And I'm like, thanks, bitch.
No shit.
Yeah,
it is it is extremely consequential. Go to college. If you are a fucking Zoomer, go to college. If someone says fun. If someone says college is expensive, yeah. Who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. Your debt will exist with you forever, and it will get inflated away. Who fucking cares?
I don't get it either. College was fun too. Like what the fuck? Like you're like how can you say no to that kind of fun?
Also, it is a sex party. It is not possible to get a bachelor's degree in anything and remain a virgin. Like if you're just a disagreeable person. Also, it kind of seems like society is sort of turning the corner on like you not being able to make rape jokes in public anymore. So,
true.
Like when I was at college, like this 20-year cycle is excellent. Perfect timing to go to college right now. It's perfect timing.
Sex Freakman says, you think money is real. You wouldn't if you went to college, and he's kind of right.
That's right. Look at me now commenting on Library of Mass Destruction. Elliot Hacker. Yes, that's what a bachelor's degree will get you. I almost said bastard's degree.
Elliot Hacker, long time lurker, first time commenter. Are you east or west of the Continental Divide?
Hey, Red Heine, studying for the LSAT. Good job. Godspeed. I hope you get into Harvard Law and become an absolutely soulless corporate attorney.
You know what the Zoomers do,
much
though?
Money, it's amazing.
The Zoomers, I like the Zoomer lawyer hopefuls more than I like the millennial lawyer. The millennial lawyer hopefuls all watched Legally Blonde and wanted to go to Harvard Law. The Zoomers all go to like crackhead law school at the historically black college in their state. And then they laugh at you whenever you suggest doing something otherwise. This was a good idea, and I'm like, y'all are crazy. Every Zoomer I know who's in law school is in like the historically black college. And this is true. Historically black colleges, the law schools, they will have a law school because of some civil rights legislation. So they will have a law school, but the law school will be full of white people.
Yep. Yeah, man, lawyers. There are so many lawyers. Dear God, there's so many shit lawyers. Actually, like it's the most over degreed profession by a lot.
Gabe from Croatia says Borchets never went to college.
Yeah, great. Who fucking cares? Oh well, Bill Gates dropped out and became a billionaire. So who fucking cares? You are not Bill Gates. You will not drop out and become a billionaire.
Penultimo apparently also has a theory that I'm black.
Well, we know that Penultimo's El Salvadorian scheming has gotten us to read these books. So he's look askance at anything he says. He is manipulating you. So someday we'll meet Ultimo, and that guy will be a really, really tough to deal with. Anyway, so President Carter's shortcomings as commander-in-chief became even more blatant than his staff's. As time went by, withdrawal of U.S. troops from Korea was approved but not carried out, thanks in part to the career-sacrificing outspoken opposition of General John Singlaub. The president tried to ignore Captive Nations Week, but was forced to recant by an angry Congress. Carter's man at the UN advocated admission of communist Vietnam to that world body, said Cuban Reds brought stability and order to Africa, and and charged that British foreign policy was built on racism. The president returned the Holy Crown of St. Stephen, symbol of national independence, from our safekeeping to the communist masters of Hungary. Afghanistan was invaded, so we didn't go to the Olympic Games. Our ally, the Republic of China, on Taiwan, was betrayed in favor of communist Chinese. The Shah of Iran was overthrown. U.S. Ambassador Andy Young referred to Ayatollah Khomeini as a saint. Then our embassy in Tehran was seized, and SALT II was signed, though not ratified. I did watch a documentary about the seizure of our embassy in Tehran. It was called Argo. It starred that guy from Mallrats. But
I thought we still had the Hungarian crown jewels. We gave them back.
I don't know. Maybe they came back. They're not communists anymore.
No, they're in Hungary, it looks like. But we had them. I think there was some weird ass story about how we got them at the end of World War II.
Yeah. And
discovered by
was by one of the monuments men in probably an assault mine.
It was recovered by a member of the 86th Infantry Division in Matzi, Austria. So same idea, but just some random guy found him.
There once was a man from Matzi.
He was trying to mail him back to Toledo.
Nazi.
He was identified when he tried to mail him back to his girlfriend in Toledo.
Amazing. With the Soviet SALT II was signed, though not ratified, with the Soviet enemy, despite the warning of Washington Democratic Senator Henry Jackson to enter a treaty which favors the Soviets, he said, as this one does, on the grounds that we will be in a worse position without it, is appeasement in its purest form. Appeasement, arguing something is appeasement, is one of the gayest, most retarded things that a person can possibly do when discussing diplomacy. By the way, it is a total non-argument. But also, I was reading about SALT II earlier today, completely at random. Not at random. I was reading about it because I was looking at the price of missile bases. Very affordable to absolutely ridiculously unaffordable, by the way. And unfortunately,
what's the low end? What's the low range?
You can get a low range one for $160,000.
missile silo.
Yeah, you can get an Atlas a missile silo for 160,000. Now, granted, what that is you get the superstructure and the land.
No guarantee it works.
Well, obviously, it will not work and doesn't come with a missile.
Yeah,
no missiles included. But what it will get you, but unfortunately, a lot of the Minuteman II bases are completely contaminated with PCBs, and so none of those and those were the most common bases. So there's a bunch of fucking bases that are toxic for the next 500 years, with like these crazy chemicals that are just and when they closed them, they just like all of the whole ground and everything, all the topsoil was completely contaminated. So what they did was they bulldozed everything into the silo holes in the Minuteman bases and then put concrete caps on them. And now most of them are like scrap yards and stuff that are just sitting on top of old missile bases.
I wonder where they are. This sounds like a great place.
They're all over the place.
This sounds like the best place to start my cult.
It sounds like the worst place to start your cult because it's full of PCBs. You should just get one of the other ones. And also, there are also decommissioned.
Oh, I thought you said PCPs. I thought you said PCP.
No, not PCP, PCBs. And then also, there are a lot of communications bunkers that were they were always placed like 10 miles from the actual missile base. And there were hard lines throughout there was a completely parallel communications infrastructure just for the missile bases. And so these communications bunkers tend to be pretty big and pretty plush and do not have the same contaminants. So those tend to be a little more expensive. One of the main issues with doing any kind of redevelopment inside of the Atlas missile silos. So each Atlas base had a single warhead. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like 14 stories tall. But essentially you had like 2,000 square feet of underground facility. And then this 140 foot long missile that was just in a giant in a giant underground concrete tube.
Yeah.
And these giant underground concrete tubes, as one might imagine, are somewhat difficult to develop because the main door enters them from the top and then approximately 30 feet down. So you have a 110-foot drop with essentially no supports, even though the area of a cross section of it is 3,000 square feet. So you could put 3,000 square feet on 14 floors, which is a lot of space, you might say, in one of these things, but you'd have to build all of the support and everything inside of this tube that's extremely difficult to access because it's 140 feet straight down from surface level.
I like everything about it for cult purposes.
It sounds great. It sounds great.
By the way, George W. Hayduke has a good point. We could just have the PCBs join the cult. They and Lamborghini Mercy, who, if you've ever met this man, looks and sounds exactly like the kind of person who would make the following comment. He is currently riding a freight train somewhere between Montgomery and Birmingham, Alabama, and probably listening to Memphis rap. Says, can't hate on Carter too much. He brought the Allman Brothers to the White House.
He did do that.
Also Bob Dylan, but I think I've already gone into that.
Don't think twice. Sorry.
All right. It's my favorite song ever. Yeah, I told you that.
I know, because I sent you that video of a Sicilian e-girl singing it.
Yeah. Oh man, I should go to Sicily.
Oh, you should. That's the type of exogamy that anyone can get behind. Let's see. Appeasement is the nicest way Republican Senator Barry Goldwater might have termed the actions of President Carter. The Democrat president had, in the Arizonans' words, halted construction of the B-1 bomber and postponed development of the MX missile and the cruise missile. After persuading our NATO allies to accept deployment of the neutron artillery shell, fucking based, so based, Carter changed his mind and stopped development of this new weapon system. Candidate Carter, recalled Senator Goldwater, displayed enormous indignation over what he called the secrecy surrounding the conduct of foreign affairs. He promised that if he were elected, these negotiations would be conducted in public with citizen participation. The Panama Canal treaties, which provoked such acrimonious division in 1977 and 1978, were written in secret. No details of the language in the treaties was released to Congress or the country until just 24 hours before they were signed by President Carter. Well, there's a lot of reasons to do that type of thing in secret, geopolitical reasons, especially considering it's the fucking Panama Canal. But also,
that was a very divisive. It was a big moment.
But also, we never should have given it back.
Yeah.
Because we fucking built it. We should just pay a lease. It's fine. Anyway, too typical of the Carter inflicted damage to the U.S. was his appointment of Andrew Young on the Council of Foreign Relations as United Nations ambassador. At his swearing in, Young received his testimony from President Carter. Of all the people I've ever known in public service, Andy Young is the best, author's emphasis. But Young, though a trilateralist, was a loose cannon rattling around on the deck. He said publicly that Fidel Castro's troops and tanks in Africa were basically doing technical assistance. And the black Georgian further opined, I don't believe that Cuba in Africa because it was ordered there by the Russians. I don't know what kind of accent.
Ordered there by the Russians. Come on.
Ordered there by the Russians. I
No,
believe
man.
I really did shit. It really has shared a sense of colonial oppression and domination.
I'd be out here be penultimate be a black.
Well,
He ain't gonna think no different.
I surely do, Mr. Carter. That's what I should. I'll go with King. I'll go with Kingfisher the next time. Speaking of Soviet Union's harassment of dissidents, Young equated this to his own arrest at a garbage strike in Atlanta years before. Here's my chance.
Yeah.
After all, said Young in an outrageous statement picked up by TASS in the USSR, our prisons as well. There are hundreds, perhaps thousands of people whom I call political prisoners. I surely would. Ambassador Young was finally forced to resign after being discovered in 1979 in secret negotiations with the terrorist Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, Yasser Arafat. Come on. It was, commented Clark Molenhoff, an unrepentant Andrew Young who spoke before a press conference to explain his resignation. I really don't feel a bit sorry for what I've done. The President of the United States said Andy had given a superb performance as UN ambassador and that he wanted Young to be involved politically in the 1980 campaign. That's it's crazy because the PLO was not actually a terrorist organization, and that's completely
The PLO is not. The PLO is not a terrorist organization. I would like to take this moment to issue a call of solidarity with the global Third World Front. And urge our viewers to globalize the Intifada.
Look, as long as it's globalized in the land that has previously been referred to as Palestine before 1948, then whatever. No, but like the idea that the PLO was not an attempt to form it actually was legitimately an attempt to form an independent parallel government. And the PLO was undermined directly by Israeli intelligence through the founding of Hamas. Mossad founded Hamas to make the PLO lose legitimacy. That is what happened. So if you call the PLO if you call the PLO a terrorist organization, you are absolutely incorporating like classic Israeli propaganda. It is what it is.
I love everything about it. There is a point at which I stopped trying to keep track of history because it is just like history up to a certain point, like really about 1918 history. You can pretty much rely on your sources almost all the time. After that, it becomes like this like whoopee cushion act where like everyone is lying to you all the time, and you have like lots of fucking different lies to juggle, and it just becomes too much of a.
I don't know. There's one country that seems to collect them, unlike
There's one country that seems there's one country that seems to be a peculiar nexus for this kind of misinformation, and
I'm not sure which one it is, but anyway, yeah. As the election grew closer, the American people grew impatient with this president who criticized his countrymen like a school marm. In a national TV address, the Malaise speech, though the word wasn't used by Carter, on July 15th, 1979, Carter said the U.S. was suffering from a crisis of confidence that strikes at the very heart and soul of our national will. Boy, I mean, that honestly, pretty much working with one of those right now as well. But
I have to look at
would have been a lot. It was a lot worse before January to be clear.
When I come out, like whenever people act, because I've said this, but I like Jimmy Carter. Like, and I was talking about this with Cal Crucis the other day. I was like, I like Jimmy Carter, but I don't really know. I couldn't really tell you why I like Jimmy Carter. I don't understand what it is about Jimmy Carter that makes me just like him at a base level. And like, it's like that he said things like this. It's like, it's very Southern Democrat to do this, make that kind of statement. It's like, we're in a crisis of confidence. It's very paternalistic in the sense that it's like, yeah, I can say that. Nobody else can say that, but it's actually my job to say that. And like Jimmy Carter did that really well. That's one of the reasons why people like think of him as a good man or whatever.
Yeah,
that is true. Penultimo. I do
kind of think of him as a good man because of like the Habitat for Humanity thing.
Well, that also, and that is true. Sandbatch likes Jimmy Carter because he's a Southerner. It's true. It's also the reason I absolutely go to the ground for Woodrow Wilson, because he was born in Virginia and grew up in South Carolina. Like never ever cuck on a Southern president ever.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Carter also, after he lost, was essentially had no power anymore. And same with Ford, like both of them did not really exert any influence. And that was, in a way that like other ex-presidents were not really.
I'm trying to think.
Modern ex-presidents exert a tremendous amount of influence.
Yeah, so let's think about this. So FDR is the first one you're looking at. Like this is like a.
What do you mean?
FDR,
he was never an ex-president.
I was gonna say so FDR did, because it wasn't a thing before him. So FDR dies in 1945. Actually, I don't think Truman is either. The first time in modern history, the role of the ex-president, as we think of it,
Hoover actually stayed.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah,
Hoover did. Hoover, but I think was it the Kennedy administration? But famously, like JFK consulted ex-presidents, so he talked a lot to Eisenhower as well. And then I guess since then, because Nixon was a very exertive ex-president, he was just kind of doing Nixon shit.
I just had a new article in Redbook.
Yeah.
But Carter and Ford just really didn't do any of those things. They were completely like, all right, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do my own fucking thing or whatever. They're about as influential after they were out of office as Michael Dukakis. So, it's easy to like just be like, oh, well, he like retired and not feel any particular way about it. Whereas Clinton and Obama are still very active.
Yeah, Bill Clinton, who is, by the way, has been an ex-president. Bill Clinton was elected in
fucking 1992.
Yeah.
That was so long. It's such a long ass time ago, and he has been like, he and his wife, and it's really the Democrat Party is run by, you're either on faction Clintonite or faction Obamaite, and they're both still very involved in the day-to-day running of these machines.
Well, and like even W, you know, he's more active than Carter was. You know, he mostly stays out of it, but they still do dust him off for random neoconservative horse shit now and again.
Yeah.
So anyway, too typical of the Carter inflicted I already read that. As the election grew closer, I already said that. Approval rating for President Carter sank below 40% in 1979 and stayed there until November, when the U.S. hostages were taken in Iran, down to 32%. It then rose to 38% after Ronald Reagan announced, and reached 61% in early December. But this crisis-born confidence in the president did not last long, reported Lou Cannon. In February 1980, Carter's approval rating started down again and declined for 6 consecutive months until it reached a low point of 21% in the July 14-25 1980 period, when Reagan was nominated for president.
Reagan is also, it's also worth pointing out, Reagan has already run for the Republican nomination once and been like
handily trounced.
Yeah, he got his shit pushed in. And this is, I've done some describing, like, the people that I worked for when I was in Washington, D.C. They're the ones that laid the groundwork for Reagan's campaign here. So this is the time period in which they're doing all of that, doing all this internal rule change. Because, like, so what's sort of happened, and political system transfers fascinate the living hell out of me. And the reason I keep going back to this is because, look, you're really seeing global macro shifts in, we were seeing national macro shifts in the political geography of the country. So the thing that's happening underneath the scales here is, like, okay, remember, like I said, southern districts, which have been solidly Democrat since the Civil War, are turning red one by one. It happens first at the national level, but it's also happening at the state level now as well. So, like, now, like, it's in mechanically, what that means is, as Republicans trickle into the state legislatures, they can start doing statewide rule changes, like moving to primary and that sort of thing. And that the corresponding shifts happen. So correspondingly, remember, Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon are both from California. You know, like, California formally, I think, turns Democrat. At the national level, it turns Democrat. God, I actually don't know when. But at the state level, it remains incredibly powerful. The California Republican Party remains incredibly powerful. It still really kind of is to this day. So there's all kinds of shit that's going on that's bringing into focus the political arrangement that most of us have lived in for most of our lives.
Yep.
And that I think is ending now.
Yes. We've gone through you were entering the 6th Republic or something like that was your assessment.
This is the 8th. I have two more. This is not a framework that I made up entirely out of nowhere either. Like, that's like the party system framework as well. But I think I have 2 extra ones that aren't normally included.
Got it. Yeah. Mr. Carter started trying to buy back the support to which he had pandered in 1976. Near the end of his term, Carter claimed, "If I didn't have to get Senate confirmation of appointees, I could just tell you flatly that 12% of all my judicial appointments would be black, 3% would be Spanish-speaking, 40% would be women, and so forth." But it no longer seemed able to make a difference. By mid-July of 1979, Democrats, according to a New York Times CBS News poll, preferred the Chappaquiddick Kid, Massachusetts Senator Ted Kennedy, by 53% to 16%. In California, in a 3-man poll, even Governor Moonbeam, as Jerry Brown became known, outpolled the sitting president. Yet, when the smoke cleared by the spring of 1980, the Democratic nomination was again Carter's. Faux Iconoclast, $10. Put this towards the Sandbatch Fiat 500 / Nissan Leaf fund. I do not believe Nissan makes the Leaf anymore, and buying a used hybrid sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, thank you kindly, and y'all be sure to sneed those super chats, y'all.
Sneed the supers, man. I almost read Moonbeam as Moon Cricket, but
it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
I know. Man, that's right. Another document was prepared for Jimmy Carter by Patrick Cadell, who had years before urged style over substance. Dated June 25th, 1980, the general election's first memorandum was blunt. This memo, wrote Cadell, is an attempt to give some early attention to the need for strategy and themes which we neglected to address until late in the 1976 campaign, much to our woe. Used an M-. AI wrote this. President Carter faces an extremely difficult re-election. We face a united Republican Party with a challenger posed to our right, attempting to crowd our center. The issue structures could not be worse. After a long period of runaway inflation, we face what would be a worse political problem, unemployment, with another M-. The public is anxious, confused, hostile, and sour. More to the point, the American people do not want Jimmy Carter as their president. Not forced to choose a specific candidate, voters by almost 2-1 would reject Carter as president.
Stop. He's already dead.
Stop. He's already dead. Yeah. That's rough, but it's also, almost, it's pretty close to
dude,
pretty close to Kamala.
Dude.
What?
In the notes we have here, St. John Jeffrey St. John, Jimmy Carter's Betrayal of the South.
Oh my God.
Published by Green Hill Publishers, Ottawa, Illinois in 1976. Oh man, that's wild.
Beautiful. Indeed.
I wonder if that book is available.
I'm sure it's available.
I bet it's in Chase's library.
I'm sure it's available. Look on eBay. Or look on Abe Books. Indeed, as the president's own pollster concluded, by and large, the American people are by and large. The American people do not like Jimmy Carter. Indeed, a large segment could be said to loathe the president. Even the writer's own penchant for salted in the shell peanuts diminished during the Carter administration. We have already said it would be unfair to claim that the Trilateral Commission dominated the Carter administration. In fact, the Trilateral Commission was the Carter administration. Some 40% of the Trilateral Commission's American members became members of the administration. But once in the limelight and seen for what it was, this manifestation of the insiders' conspiracy was rejected resoundingly. After the campaign was concluded, Carter recalled in his book, Keeping Faith, that he was not surprised or shaken when the bad news came from the final pre-election polls. It hurt me deeply, but I already accommodated the disappointment that was to come officially the following day. Even so, we did not anticipate the magnitude of our defeat. To lose all but 6 states and to have our party rejected and the Republicans gain a majority in the Senate were additional embarrassments for me. I had to find a silver lining in a cloud of defeat. At least it was a relief that the political campaign was over. If he thought it was a relief, it was peanut shells compared to what the American people were feeling. End of chapter.
So this Jeffrey St. John character is sort of interesting.
Yeah. Tell me about him.
He's the author of the only thing I can find on him is his Google Books bio. It says the late Sir Jeffrey St. John is the author of 8 books, the recipient of 2 Emmys for his work in television, and the winner of the Benjamin Franklin Award for American History Writing, a former news commentator for CBS TV Morning News, NBC TV Today, and CBS Radio. He was also a commentator for TV stations in Washington, D.C., and a moderator of public affairs programs for stations in New York and Washington. Does that type of guy exist anymore?
No. Now it's a woman.
Yeah, that's a whole type of guy. Oh, yeah. Man.
Oh, my God.
It's like I saw this thing the other day. Somebody was commenting like it's like totally wild in the 1970s. Like you could hear somebody say, "Yeah, I'm the Milan correspondent for the Cincinnati Democrat Registers." What?
Oh my God, that would be amazing, right? You just get to be the correspondent in some. I mean, I guess you probably have other jobs if that's the case. You're not just like pulling down full rate, right? Yeah, our Milan correspondent. That's right. The great rhetorician, Reagan.
Here we go.
Is that something? Would we call him the great rhetorician? Would he be the? Given the subsequent 50 years, would we call him the great rhetorician? 45 years.
Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. He does have a lot of good ones, to be honest. But I mean, the thing is that Obama was better. There are more funny gaffes from W. Trump has a lot going on. Dude. Obviously. Clinton was very good at it. He got away with that. Depends on what your definition of is. He managed to talk his way out of that one.
See, I'm so militantly devoted to the South. I won't leave Bill Clinton behind.
You won't even leave Bill Clinton behind?
Yeah, no. I'm like Bill Clinton's top guy.
Can you imagine this? Wow, you are the flight attendant on the Jeffrey Epstein Express, on the Lolita Express, aren't you? Bill Clinton's top guy. I'm afraid you can't be my top guy. I never bought him.
Yeah. Oh my God. The best Trump take I've seen in a while just scampered across my path today. Generally a staunch defender of the economics profession, but the fact that an 80-year-old reality TV show star and his ragtag crew of like 5 Alabama University undergrads are running circles around 10,000 PhDs for a year now does raise some questions I can't ignore. That's an incredible tweet. Yeah, absolute banger.
It is funny. The bull in the China shop thing like really fucks with a certain mindset, right? A certain sort of rules based kind of person. Like there's just like a bureaucrat can't handle it, right?
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable to them that someone would say, actually, all of the things you're doing are worthless at best and destructive. And so me completely demolishing your day-to-day email job is nothing but a unvarnished good. So they can't handle it. So in November 1979, Ronald Reagan became the 10th GOP candidate to enter the presidential race. A year later, he had beaten all the other Republicans and went on to defeat, for the first time in 50 years, a sitting elected president who was seeking re-election. In so doing, by an electoral count of 489 to 44 and a plurality of 8.4 million votes, 50.7% to 41% for Carter and 6.6% for independent John Anderson, also of the Council on Foreign Relations, Reagan carried all the states except the home state of president and vice president, and Hawaii, Maryland, Rhode Island, West Virginia, and the District of Columbia. That's a somewhat strange mix of places, is it not? Like you wouldn't think West Virginia would not normally be on that list. DC, Hawaii, Maryland, and Rhode Island would all vote together, though.
FBI informant, by the way, says Grok created an image of Sandbatch as a flight attendant on Jeff Epstein's blank bleep
grape jet.
Yeah.
On his grape jet. Another Virginia Slim, sir. No, thank you, Christopher. I'll have the let's say North Carolina Slim.
Damn.
Let's see.
You almost just did a Jimmy Carter voice, and it would have been so bad.
What?
Almost just did a Jimmy Carter. Oh, that'll be the little boy from Morocco. You know. Oh my God. Can't do it.
I'll take. I call him Timbuktu.
Oh man.
Because the first one done died on me. It had been a long road from 1964 and the speech that Reagan had given on behalf of Barry Goldwater. That was the national debut of Ronald Wilson Reagan in it. I didn't know his middle name. Did not know that.
Ronnie Wilson.
In an address known as A Time for Choosing, wherein he said, "You and I have a rendezvous with history. We'll preserve our children, this, the last best hope for man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done." Oh, the phrases over the years that Americans have come to appreciate and finally, or so they think, to embrace. The new beginnings seemed so auspicious in the January 1981 inaugural address, when President Reagan's rhetoric spoke of the economic woes in the country and said, "In this present crisis, the government is not the solution to our problems. Government is the problem." Yes, in the beginning were the words, and well begun is half done, if one means to follow through. However, the deeds of the first Reagan term, on balance, proved bitterly disappointing to those who thought the administration would make a break from the path so long before marked out by the establishment insiders. After all, had not candidate Reagan himself in Orlando, February 1980, been blunt in his suggestion that the Carter administration was unduly influenced by the elitists on the Trilateral Commission? There were, pointed out the GOP candidate, 19 key members. Okay, so Reagan gives a speech about the undue influence of the Trilateral Commission.
Yeah.
And we are writing this book like it's a conspiracy.
We're no longer saying that none dare. We're no longer saying that none dare converse. You know, this is like Ronnie Reagan.
It's out now.
Ronnie Reagan. He done opened us up. Now this was published from deep in the heart of the Reagan administration. Remember the Reagan years. Yeah. This is when this episode, like Ronnie Reagan is sitting on the fucking lid of the United States as this book is being pecked out. So this is like, you know, like this is when, oh man, so much. This is Wendy Painting's origin story era right here is what this is. It's the only way I know how to describe it.
There were, pointed out the GOP candidate, 19 key members of the Carter team who were then or had been trilateralists. A spokesman for the Reagan said, according to the New York Times, that their influence led to what he called a softening of defense on the ground that the commission members believed that the trade and business should transcend perhaps the national defense. Candidate Reagan also tackled fellow Republican candidate George Bush for his trilateral past. Bush was also a director of the Council on Foreign Relations, parent of the Trilateral Commission. So this time he spells out Council on Foreign Relations and abbreviates Trilateral Commission as TC.
Well, it's just it depends on who remembers what. There's all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
You gotta hit him with the left one time, hit him with the right the next time.
Yeah. Reagan biographer Lou Cannon, now a White House reporter for the liberal Washington Post, run by Catherine Graham of the Council on Foreign Relations, has belittled those on the far fringes politically who view the Trilateralists as a sinister one-world conspiracy headed by David Rockefeller. Continued Mr. Cannon, but Reagan also realized that some of his more strident supporters shared the conspiracy view about the Trilateralists, and he had done nothing to persuade them otherwise or stop them from harassing Bush. The Los Angeles Times, a West Coast establishment paper, also made light of this, but commented nonetheless that Ronald Reagan is the beneficiary of these silly allegations that Bush's past membership in the Trilateral Commission tags him as part of a communist accommodating world conspiracy. The Times might call right-wing concern absurd as it did, but in 1980, there was an inordinate trilateral connection to candidates Jimmy Carter and his vice president Walter Mondale of the CFR, to independent John Anderson, and to Reagan's vice presidential candidate George Bush. CFR resigned. It's sort of like when people list military rank and say retired. Like CFR resigned.
I wonder if there is an internal rank system. Yeah, of course they got to have a board of directors and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they have board of directors. Yeah, the council. He was a director of the Council on Foreign Relations. Let's see here. To the dismay of many supporters, Reagan then placed the man he had beaten, his liberal competitor Bush, onto the GOP ticket under the guise of unifying the party. If circumstances a short 2 months after the inauguration had been altered by a mere 1 inch, the distance by which John Hinckley's bullet missed Reagan's aorta and lodged near his heart, a CFR trilateralist would have been in the Oval Office again. Syndicated columnist Kevin Phillips, in the pre-election days of 1980, contended there was nothing conspiratorial about the Trilateral Commission, calling it rather a very fashionable club made up of the sort of people who 6 or 8 months ago wouldn't have been caught dead at a Ronald Reagan rally. Yet, noted Phillips in his column for August 4th, 1980, somehow Ronald Reagan enlisted or was drawn to or was taken over by the left-wing establishment wing of the GOP. This is a list of grudges. This is just a list of grudges. For a man who only this April gave an interview to the Christian Science Monitor saying he'd shun the directions and presumably the membership of David Rockefeller's controversial Trilateral Commission, Reagan has eaten rather fully of the trilateralite fruit. His vice presidential choice, ex-ambassador George Bush, was a trilateralite until 1979. Republican National Chairman William E. Brock, embraced and retained by Reagan, had been on the Trilateral Commission in recent years. So has ex-ambassador to Britain Anne Armstrong, just appointed as co-chairman of the Reagan campaign organization. In fact, most of the people now running the Reagan campaign probably wouldn't have been caught dead at a Reagan rally 6 or 8 months ago, and their circa 1979 private opinions of the Reagan constituency, the California governor's longtime faithful supporters and grassroots activists, range from snide to hostile. Multinational corporate executives and lawyers just don't care about the same issues as Oklahoma farmers and parochial school mothers. Of course, no one expected simple folks in the Reagan top administrative positions or cabinet, but one could expect Reaganites and or conservatives in those jobs once the election was won. This was not to be. Top cabinet slots went to such CFR/Trilateral Commission members as Alexander Haig, Secretary of State and Kissinger protege, who was later replaced by George Shultz, a transfer from the CFR, and the President's Economic Policy Advisory Board. Don Regan, Secretary of the Treasury, Malcolm Baldrige, Secretary of Commerce, William Casey, Director of Central Intelligence Agency, and Caspar Weinberger, Secretary of Defense. A count early in the administration revealed that 72 members of the elitist CFR in top jobs. I can't help but note that he has not yet mentioned that George W. Bush was former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, or George H.W. Bush, I should say. It's kind of it's a weird oversight. It's a weird oversight that the intelligence community would be overlooked like that. Sandbatch?
Oh yeah, no, I just got sucked into a small rabbit hole. The people that run the county highway, you know what I'm talking about. No, it turns out no, they're on tour. They're in New Orleans and they're like eating at a place that's like literally like a block away from me right now. And I was like, "Huh, what y'all doing?" Sorry, I got totally distracted for a minute.
Jesus Christ. Well, no worries. It was another list of ships.
Oh.
All this, I can't stress too much, is from a candidate
Another
who
list
said,
of ships, or was it literally a list of ships?
No. It was. I'm just saying it's like that section of the Iliad where he just lists Homer just lists the ships.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm with you.
All this, I can't stress too much, from a candidate who said in November of 1980. I could also have said it's the begats from Book of Kings. You know.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. Exact same function.
I think there is an elite. I think that there's an elite in this country, and they are here, and they are the very ones who run an elitist government. They want a government by a handful of people because they don't believe in the people themselves can run their lives. Are we going to have an elitist government that makes decisions for people's lives? Or are we going to believe, as we have for so many decades, that the people can make the decisions for themselves? Good question for a candidate. A better question for a president. As the Reagan administration took over, the evidence of business as usual took over also. There will be plenty of moderates, reassured U.S. News and World Report, aboard the Reagan team. Goddamn. As he saddled up in late 1980. This meant trilateralists. What had candidate Reagan said about such a CFR trilateralist dominance? On March 17th, 1980, he answered this way. Now, I don't believe that the Trilateral Commission is a conspiratorial group, but I do think its interests are devoted to international banking, multinational corporations, and so forth. I don't think that any administration of the U.S. government should have the top 19. Oh, interesting. I guess this is a Reagan quote. Whatever. It should have the top 19 positions filled by people from any one group or organization representing one viewpoint. No, I would go in a different direction. Conciliation, compromise, and soft peddling of the promises were seen as signs of willingness to defer to those who had worked against the incoming president. It would surely be polite to call this selling out to those on the inside, or, as put even more politely by U.S. News, Reagan's first move after the November 4th election generally pleased moderate Republicans and Democrats, some of whom feared he would follow the dictates of his more conservative supporters.
So I've talked about this before, haven't I?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I started foaming at the mouth. This is when this is in Southern Democrat lore, or in Southern political lore. This is the moment that the establishment Republicans knifed us in the back and have been using us ever since. Okay, because this totally happened. All these people that did all this groundwork to put Ronnie Reagan in the White House, they get jobs initially, they get their normal jobs initially, but then in the night, lots of them get hacked. The most famous, the symbolic one, is a figure by the name of Mel Bradford. Wrote for he wrote for everybody. Mel Bradford's an easy person.
Wrote speeches.
Yeah, well, he was a man of letters, is kind of what you would call it. He was being considered for a library position, and the motherfucker, that Jewish dude, I can't remember his name, but they turned it into a fucking huge spat in the Supreme Court, in the senatorial hearings, and then all of the Southerners got backbenched in the Reagan administration after that. And that's sort of it's the great stab in the back from the Republican Party is what that is.
Hell with them, Vice President Bush declared on November 10th in Houston, referring to right-wing groups that supported the president-elect. The religious right was to be disappointed in President Reagan, though perhaps not so much as it had been by Carter's promises. Yeah. This section of the electorate made up a decisive share of the Reagan 1980 majority and deserved better. I mean, this is just the play, right? Like you have to staff an administration, and well, boy howdy, it looks like all of the professional bureaucrats are coming from a couple organizations.
Yeah,
I mean, this is what happened the first Trump administration.
It happened this time too.
It happened this time too, slightly less, but it happened this time. Yeah.
This time, so, you know, like the way it got, I saw somebody billing that the Project 2025 worked. Of course, Project 2025 was some like Heritage Foundation document.
Yeah,
it was like a Heritage Foundation's approved list of like staffers. Oh, it's exactly the same people as did Trump 1.0, because that's who did most of the staffing for Trump 1.0 was the Heritage Foundation again, because they were the only supply of bureaucracy class janissaries on the Republican side. Like the only institution,
which is why we had to bomb Iran.
Yeah, it's the only institution that will deliver you an out of the box Republican regime, you know.
Yeah. I mean, what do we do with, you know, what do you do with I mean, Trump 2016 had fucking Bolton in his goddamn administration.
That's
maybe
wild.
One of the most that was the most insane one. Easily the most insane one. John Bolton, like,
still around.
He's
dead now, but yeah.
I would take what, did he die?
Yeah, he's dead.
Really?
I
thought that he's dead. Mustache was like his phylactery or something.
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
He was growing off of it.
No, he's still alive. Damn.
Yeah, I thought he was still alive. Anyway, fucking like John Bolton was the sign that things were not going to be any different.
Dude, John Bolton is so old. He was born in Baltimore.
So old. He's white, and he was born in Baltimore.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, I but that guy's the actual worst. You know, like I would if I had the choice. Okay, so if a cabinet position had to go to, it had to go to like either John Bolton or Tim Walz, I would pick Tim Walz. I would easily pick Tim Walz.
I was going to say that's a terrible choice to serve the American people, but then again, that's the kind of choice that gets served every fucking day. So
yeah, you know? If it had to go to one of them, it's going to be Tim Walz, because the worst thing that Tim Walz has ever done is, you know, ask people to use his tongue like a bidet, and the worst thing John Bolton has done is probably killing a child and a kitten every morning to like wake up. That's his fucking coffee.
I'm trying to figure out how I can classify Baltimore as the South, so I can go with Bolton and blame it on that.
Demographically, it's South.
Yeah.
Demographically Southern. Same distribution as Atlanta. So yeah. It's Baltimore. Seriously, like got to be upper 60s black, upper 60% black.
You know what New Orleans is?
Probably upper 60%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Baltimore is one. I don't know. Baltimore be our twin. Baltimore be our twin up on the East Coast. You know. Yeah.
Tim Walz did have other politicians killed. I don't know if I believe that one, although I admit I don't know that much about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in hearing more about the did Tim Walz get someone assassinated angle.
George W. Hayduke says Maryland was a slave state. First of all, every state was a slave state at some point.
Thank God for Dred Scott.
Yeah, and second of all, Maryland is a slave state. Like, yeah, but there were literally like 20 slaves in Maryland. Oh no, there were more in Maryland. There was like 20 in Delaware. Delaware, incredibly low population of slave owners by the 1850s. They actually have a gigantic free black population in the 1850s. Like, it's like, I wonder how many of them there were. Oh, how many free black?
Every slave was a state. Christopher Sandbatch.
It was every slave. What every state was a slave
No,
state.
you said every slave was a state. That's all.
Oh shit.
Yeah, no, but I mean, yes, that is what Dred Scott means. Every state is a slave state. That's what Dred Scott means.
We got this. We got to check this out because I'm digressing a lot today, but we're just touching on all my little. So Charleston, South Carolina had 42,000 people, of whom 3,000 were free blacks in 1850. New Orleans, we didn't keep count.
There were too many mulattoes.
Yeah. Oh, and they didn't give me Baltimore. That's funny though. New Orleans, like, oh no, 1860 New Orleans had 10,900 free Negroes, and that's in a population of probably still sub 100,000. So there's a lot of them.
Yeah, up 13%. Remarkably stable. There was a sense of foreboding in the air. A former Reagan political director put it this way: there is a lot of bad feeling that the administration is being staffed with people who will not be responsive to the Reagan game plan, or with people who will be supportive of his program. He'll wind up with no allies in Congress and none in the bureaucracy. Service to Reagan does not seem to matter. Perhaps the crowning blow in the personnel field came in appointing as chief of staff James Baker, a nominal Democrat before 1970 when he managed George Bush's unsuccessful Texas Senate race.
Oh, man, I forgot about that lore. Oh, man.
In 1976, he worked against Ronald Reagan for Gerald Ford and managed Ford's losing presidential campaign. And in 1980, after Baker had lost his own race for Texas Attorney General 2 years before, managed Bush's poor showing against Ronald Reagan. Years later, liberal columnist David S. Broder looked back on what happened and feigned ignorance. I'm not sure what the explanation for this pattern of picking up left-wing retreads, claimed the Washington Postman. Some of my conservative friends see it as evidence of the conspiracy by White House Chief of Staff Jim Baker and the Bush Network to infiltrate their moderate allies into Reagan's government. Broder saw no evil, much like the proverbial monkey with eyes hidden behind hands.
So this is the emergence of the conservative complaint about right-wing willingness to reach across the aisle, but like really, as we've already pointed out, and like they're kind of sort of kowtowing to here, there exists no, like, Liberty University doesn't even exist. There exists no pipeline. This conservative movement is like 10 years old. It has zero institutions, none whatsoever. And like, so, and it doesn't do a very good job of growing them. So like, it doesn't have this bureaucrat class that it can just like reach in and grab, like, you know, it's got like one or two, it's got A team and a B team. Whereas like, you know, Democrat regimes have like, it's like Build-A-Bear of your, like any any like boutique needs that you have. Like there's a member of the overproduced elite bureaucratic class that's there, right, that is an expert in that particular subject. In that particular
bullshit. Right. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. The bench is fucking shallow on our side of things. As Lou Cannon noted, that the new right was dismayed that pragmatism was taking hold in the Reagan White House, just as it had in Sacramento. Cannon noted there were those skeptical of James Baker's loyalty, and why not? Selecting a former opponent's principal strategist as one's own White House chief of staff was unheard of. Would Lyndon Johnson or Richard Nixon or Jimmy Carter have selected as White House chief of staff the man who had managed the last two campaigns of their principal intra-party opponents? To ask the question is to answer it. Who's the chief of staff for Trump?
I actually don't know. Oh, it's Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller.
No, I thought he was. No, he's not chief. He's not deputy White House chief of counsel anymore. I thought he was deputy White House chief of counsel, but like maybe I get his like jobs mixed up. No, the chief of staff is that woman. The woman that ran his campaign, that woman from North Florida.
Yeah, that's right. I always, Susie Wiles.
And Steven, this is how much of a millennial I am. I think of presidential like West Wing staffers by their corresponding role on the West Wing. And like Stephen Miller is, for fellow millennials out there, Stephen Miller is the same thing that Josh Lyman was in the West Wing.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You
understood that correspondence, and that's why you're groaning. Yeah.
That show is like, it was actual pornography.
It's
like
like
The West Wing, for someone who lived through the W administration, was I mean, it was positively pornographic in a way that like in a way that like OnlyFans and like fucking bukkake bootlegs were not.
I've said before, it totally destroyed my idea. It totally set. There are still people. I guarantee you, there's like a whole subreddit of people who are like, who want President Bartlett. I mean, I do. I want President Bartlett. I'm one of them.
You're one of them. You're one of you want you want a Southern Democrat.
Actually. I mean, I'm willing to trade. Remember, I'm an FDR guy too. Like I am like dyed in the wool FDR partisan supporter. And this is, of course, all of this. The root of all of this is the Wilson revisionism. Like that's like the reason I go so hard on it is like Wilson revisionism is absolutely like baseline Sandbatchism, for better or worse. Like it's like it. And then once you slot Wilson over into the good guy role, then you have to do FDR revision. And then all of a sudden you're in the New Deal. And really, this is also how we end up with right-wing Nixon revisionism, because you also have to like Richard Nixon a little bit. And then
I can't give you President Bartlett, but I can give you President Strom Thurmond.
Oh my God. I'm more of a Jesse Helms guy than a Strom Thurmond guy.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say Jesse Jackson.
No, well, Strom Thurmond. I don't want to get into the weeds here, but Thurmond is he's a little bit not quite Jesse Helms. Damn, Jesse Helms is a much better example of like a sort of classic Southern politician than Strom Thurmond was. Strom Thurmond was an early defector to the Republican Party.
Yeah,
and he picked up a lot of. He's a little bit Pitchfork Ben-ish, if that makes sense. If you know who Pitchfork Ben is.
I don't actually know who Pitchfork Ben is.
Ben Tillman was a senator from South Carolina who was elected as a redeemer, and the redeemers were the like sort of backwoods hillbillies that like swung into town after Reconstruction ended and imposed the Jim Crow rule. And they were sort of very violent, but they were also very turncoaty. It's like you're dealing. This is high Scots Irish now, and like they just didn't have. They didn't have the sort of polish that you would expect.
Those hoes ain't loyal, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's deep in the Southern partisan woods, though.
Well, yet James Baker became the man essentially responsible for implementation of policy. At the same time, the staffing problems predicted by conservatives came home to roost. A survey of top Reagan Department and agency posts outside of the White House and ambassadorial posts was made in late summer of 1981 and revealed that almost half had worked in previous administrations. 37% under Ford or Nixon, 12% under Democrat Carter, and only 14% of the employees worked in the Reagan campaign. In a sort of reverse spoils system, the new administration, reported U.S. News and World Report, includes so many former Nixon-Ford people that some Reaganites have been asking who won the election. Only 45 appointees have come from Reagan's campaign organization. This barely exceeds the 44 Democrats or former Carterites given positions in the administration. Indeed, as the thrust of the administration became more obvious, the liberal Washington Post was happily announcing that the gap between rhetoric and reality had set in. Said the Post's David Hoffman, they were outsiders who finally became insiders, but some of the conservative crusaders who came into office with President Ronald Reagan have grown frustrated and are resigning. The crusade is over, said one administration official who has returned to private business. It is true that Ronald Reagan's initial budget resolution was passed by the Congress, thanks in large measure to the second honeymoon the popular president received after his courageous comeback from the attempt on his life. But Congress had no intention of really cutting the budget, and the numbers game soon involved by how much growth of spending would be reduced, as if a patient could be said to be getting better because his fever was increasing slower today than yesterday. In fact, a patient would be said to be getting better if that was the case. But again, this is just the big beautiful bill. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
The omnibus. Yeah, but this is also
omnibus.
This is when, I mean, these are the Congresses that have first started to have to deal with the slothing off of congressional authority into sort of bureaucratic power, and it's like really starting to land in the craw, and it's really starting to make itself felt at this point. Like administrative bloat is getting big. The Republicans or the conservative movement, it seizes power on the claim that it's going to move things the other way. But they actually quickly find that it's not as easier said than done. That like just the basic functions of the government now require these massive, bureaucratic states. But yeah, it's all beside the point. Not beside the point, but it's adjacent.
Yeah. A trade was supposedly arranged in 1982 to pass the 3-year $99+ billion Dole tax bill, which, according to the Senate Finance Committee chaired by Kansas GOP taxer Bob Dole, would total Bob Dole. Excuse me. Would total $228 billion by 1987. This made it, in the words of Treasury spokesman, the largest 1-year and 3-year legislated tax increase on record in dollar terms in a single piece of legislation. As for the trade, that was bait for those who don't believe in collusion. The supposed reduction in future outlays went the tale, going to accompany the tax rise that came first. But as conservative columnist John Lofton, in an open letter to the president, remarked, speaking of this alleged 3-to-1 ratio rationale, sir, I must be blunt. Many of your strongest supporters on the Hill believe that in buying this, you were sold a bill of goods. What these Reaganites believe is that there's no way, once the dust settles, that congressional spending cuts are going to outnumber tax increases by a margin of 3-to-1. No way. Well, obviously, we know which way it went. Just so, even the Wall Street Journal mapped out the course the president was following with this warning. Turn back, Mr. President, before it is too late. In your steadily deepening commitment to tax increases, you are embarked on a profoundly self-destructive course. There could be no surer sign of this than Tip O'Neill's invitation to go before a joint session of Congress to urge passage of the pending $100 billion tax increase. This is no act of statesmanship, but an invitation into the spider's web. You spent long years in the political wilderness endlessly repeating a message considered a sure loser by the Washington elite, the pollsters, and the fashionable media. For this, the voters rewarded you, but now the Washington elite, the pollsters, and the fashionable media have led you step by step into reversing yourself on the centerpiece of the first year of your administration. You would like to believe, of course, that this reversal is not taking place. So you view the tax increases as the price that must be paid for spending reductions by Congress. All this only sucks you further into the mire. You do not have anything approaching such budget cuts. Worse, everyone, Mr. O'Neill, your supporters in Congress, the public at large, understands full well that you do not. It is bad enough that Ronald Reagan backs tax increases without Ronald Reagan congratulating Speaker O'Neill and his colleagues for budget discipline. Man, there is
Tip of
nothing.
the-
There is nothing sexier than spending cuts. Am I right?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my fucking god! You know, remember the economy is in a weird place that makes this work. You know,
Well,
The-
our
the-
economy is.
right? Yeah. Whenever the Reagan people are going absolutely crazy, slashing private. What they say? Do I go there?
What?
When they say they're cutting government funding, of course, what they're actually saying is they're privatizing. Okay, and this is like this is one of these times whenever this seems to have worked. It created a massive public-private, stimulus, and gave us really what it did was just gave us the MK Ultra military industrial complex that we know and love today. It just like sort of
turbocharged it. We already had it in a
yeah. But it like turbocharged it to such a degree that like you have to stop and say something,
It's like well, yeah, no, for sure. This was hardly the way to be dealing with what Teddy White called the most startling and unanticipated development of the 1980 election. A gain of 12 Senate seats, the largest shift there since 1958, and the largest Republican majority, 53, in more than half a century. But after tax cuts that didn't cut taxes and budget cuts that didn't cut the budget, 1982 was a different story. The GOP lost 24 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, and what had been a conservative House, a coalition disappeared. Veteran syndicated columnist Patrick Buchanan, old Pat, called the midterm contest a major defeat for President Reagan, the worst of his career, and a thrashing for his party. No cheery cliches about holding our own in the Senate can alter that painful truth. Even the Republican cheerleaders at human events saw the 1980 mandate slipping away and yielding to the pragmatists, such as Tennessee Senator Howard Baker of the Council on Foreign Relations, the majority leader expected to run for president in 1988. Bob Dole, of course, was another influential pragmatist who took over the position of the retiring Baker for the 1985 session, who wanted to define the issues for the Republican Party in the second half of the first Reagan term. Men such as Baker and Dole, human events warned the president, are beginning to steal away your leadership mantle. Many of us believe that you began to lose your way a bit last August when you successfully pushed through a $227 billion tax hike, basically a Dole creation, however, and went along with that U.S.-China communique, which in our view, though we know you vehemently disagree, seriously undermines our good friend Taiwan. In September, however, our hopes rose a bit when you said it would take a palace coup before you would consider raising taxes again. But lo and behold, you suddenly found yourself embracing a gas tax hike that was more than double the previous tax. And completely contrary to your idea of shifting responsibility from the federal government to the states, this bill had the federal government picking up an ever greater share of what states now spend on highways and mass transit systems. Well, that is the federal government gaining power over the states. I mean,
yeah, really, really in a final way.
In a very final way. I wonder if they're going to mention the amnesty. Do you feel like they're going to mention the amnesty?
Ooh, well,
I bet they're not going to mention the amnesty.
Yeah, probably not.
Indeed, by the 1983 State of the Union speech, Ronald Reagan, who had long called government the problem with the economy, reversed himself and claimed, "We who are in government must take the lead in restoring the economy." But not by real spending cuts or balancing the budget. U.S. News took note, for example, that Reagan had appeared to have given up on eliminating budget deficits, adding, if reelected, Reagan sees no hope of balancing the budget during his second term. At best, the president said in his January 25th, 1983 State of the Union address that deficit can be narrowed to $117 billion in 1988, not eliminated. Even that was going to prove too optimistic given the spending trend. The supposed conservative chief executive oversaw a $228 billion tax increase over 5 years, a 5% a 5-cent per gallon user fee amounting to $35 billion in the first year, and a Social Security increase of $167 billion over 7 years. Little wonder that Walter Heller, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Kennedy and Johnson, exulted in the Wall Street Journal that Mr. Reagan is a Keynesian now.
Whatever that means.
God. Yeah, well, it means he believes in power. That's what it means. Heller went on. In his fiscal program, there was no attempt to cut back the huge 1983 deficit. No attempt to step on the fiscal brakes or stem this year's tide of federal spending in the face of the enormous slack in today's economy. Quite sensibly, his emphasis has shifted from supply-side dogma to boosting demand as a means of reviving the economy, and that's why we have such high consumer debt. In the messages unveiling his $200 billion a year deficits, one finds no word, not even a whisper, about a constitutional amendment for a balanced budget. What does that add up to? In practice, a return to good old Keynesian economics.
Keynesian economics, but
good old Kenyan economics.
Oh man.
Most Kenyan of all Reagan tax increases is the $46 billion standby for contingency tax increased requested for fiscal 1986 if the deficit remains high, an income tax surcharge plus an oil tax designed to absorb the excess demand stimulus threatened by the huge structural deficits looming in the out years. Not without irony is the picture that emerges of Mr. Reagan, the fiscal fine-tuner. Tax cuts in 83 to spur the recovery, followed by tax boosts for 1986 to curb deficits and inflation. God damn it. I'm so frustrated with this fucking book.
You just gotta talk it out.
I know. Now inflation is something that the Reagan program has to date dealt with positively. For the price inflation of 12.4%, which the candidate vowed to cut in 1980, was brought down to 4.2% by the time of the 1984 election campaign. Nothing to sneeze at. Nor do I wish to imply that there were no reasons for Reagan's popularity with the public at large, if not with conservatives in general. Prime interest rates over that period fell as well, from around 21.5% to 9.5% in the summer of 1985. 21.9% was the prime interest rate. That is fucking bananas. That is crazy. That is the rate the government is offering for daily debt. Absolutely.
No, yeah, that's what I'm gonna tell you. There are like incredible things that are happening in the economy at this point that make this like sort of constellation of things just line up.
Yeah.
There was actually a point when you could buy private.
That's like if you got a mortgage when the prime rate was 21.5%, you're paying, like say you're paying a standard 2-point bump on it. You are paying credit card interest rates on a home mortgage. Now, granted, the homes at that point cost a lot fucking less than they do now, but it doesn't change the fact that the interest rate is absolutely out of this world.
Yeah, but I mean, like these same people are also what they're doing is they're just
you should silence your phone, whatever that is.
Oh yeah, it is my phone. But they have they're also taking out massive amounts of there's all these like government programs that issue credit directly to people at much lower interest rates
than the prime rate.
And then they're getting that shit, and then they're buying Federal Reserve notes with it. It's because the interest rate
because that's the prime rate.
Yeah, yes, they're alpha. They're like just literally.
Yeah, they're alpha themselves.
Yeah, it's so wild.
Yeah, it's unfucking believable. Anyway, when most of home values in the United States, by the way, are a function of inflation. The actual inflation that has occurred, the actual permanent inflation that has occurred in the U.S. economy is average home prices. Like, just take average home prices. That's your real inflation rate, by the way. But unemployment, though it rose from 7.5% to 10.7% in 1982 at the height of the recession, then fell again to 7.4% by election time. And tax rates were cut and indexing introduced as an attempt to offset increases in taxes caused solely by inflation. Though the tax cuts were offset by increases elsewhere, as mentioned earlier. This is a torturous paragraph.
Yeah.
We would do well to remember how Jerry Ford was taken to task by Jimmy Carter's citing of the misery index, unemployment rate plus the inflation rate. Then compare the Reagan marks as summarized by Warren Brooks as follows. Carter called Ford's combination of 7.8% unemployment and 5.4% inflation with a misery index of 13.2%, a national disgrace. Honestly, both 7.8 and 5.4 are not horrifying. 4 years later, in July of 1980, Carter could be ashamed of an even greater national disgrace, with an inflation at 13.2%, very bad, and unemployment at 7.6% for a 20.8 points of misery. Now, President Reagan can point to the lowest misery index since the early 1970s at 11.7%. He has accomplished the miraculous feat not only of cutting inflation by almost 9 percentage points, but modestly lowering unemployment as well. The effect of this has been to give Reagan the most impressive performance on disposable personal income and real wages in a decade. Ugh. Look, man, I don't actually think unemployment is a absolutely bonkers thing to optimize for.
This is worse than the list of ships.
This is way worse than the list of ships,
because it's the list of ships, but it's an infuriating list of ships.
Well, yeah, and it's also just like this was the inflation this year, blah blah blah. But it's like okay,
journey into the mind of a fucking boomer con. Like this is the thing. These are the things they think about.
This is why the John Birch Society failed the first time. Like, I have no idea if the John Birch Society that is presently operating on Twitter is at all the same thing as this John Birch Society, or if it's just like fucking somebody who or if it's just like somebody who decided to start that thing up. But I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't turn into interest rate masturbation again. Other marks for President Reagan's first term should go to his decision to fire the air traffic controllers who went on an illegal strike, for going ahead with decontrol of petroleum, for appointing many conservative judges, for rejecting the international grab for our ocean treasures by the rejection of the law of the sea treaty. I have no idea what the law of the sea treaty is, but if it's rejecting an international grab for our ocean treasures, it sounds like something I'm in favor of. Also, we should extend the borders for international waters off the coast of the United States and sink all of the Chinese fleets, by the way.
We should do that right now.
We should do that right now, actually. Let's see. For selecting businessman Peter Grace and a commission that found $500 billion in waste and inefficiency in the federal government that could be cut in 3 years. Man. And for the rescue of American students and the people in Grenada from a threatening communist regime. Conservatives and anti-communists were appointed, though many fell by the wayside in attacks by liberals, 3 of the more prominent being National Security Advisor Richard Allen, Interior Secretary James Watt, and Domestic Affairs Advisor Mr. Martin Anderson. Somehow Wonderland Shadow Sandbatch didn't just download the dialectic of the Enlightenment, he marinated in it. I mean 100% of us marinated in it. That's what you're living in. We are fish, it is water. Deal with it.
I glow in the waters of the Frankfurt School.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You know who hasn't been mentioned in this? Murray Rothbard.
Yeah, well, I was
Have you
going to
noticed
say.
how Murray Rothbard hasn't been mentioned?
Oh, that's a comment from Wonderland's Desire. Oh man, Sandbatch did just download the dialogue.
Yeah, Wonderland
Yeah,
Shadow. Yeah.
I am. Oh, nobody's. I wonder. Oh, I know exactly who that is. Never. I never.
Yeah. He's been here before.
You've been here before.
You've played Knifey Spoony before. Nor should it be neglected that liberal attacks on the president were often unfair. For example, Lou Cannon reported in his biography about a too typical Democrat who, speaking behind cover of anonymity, said to me in March of 1981, "Some of our programs are out of hand and we can't cut them. Reagan can, and it will save us and him." This congressman voted against the Reagan budget cuts and denounced them as heartless or inhumane. The public obviously thought it's like, how is that scandalous? Of course he did. He's on the other team.
He did what?
His job relies upon him doing that.
They were doing what to the underage women?
What
on that island?
Really? They weren't participating in a mock marriage to make it holy and sanctified before ritually divorcing them? Well, that's disgusting. The public obviously
you could smell the formica in the room.
Oh my God. The public obviously thought the alternatives to Reagan were worse, though doubts surfaced with each falter from the right track he had set. In discussing 1984 strategy, political scientist Donald J. Devine had summarized the ups and downs.
I thought we were really going to have a.
Oh no, we're gonna do approval ratings.
Yeah,
approval ratings for President Reagan by the general population have gone through 3 stages. First, from the 1980 election until June 1981, over 67% supported the president. Second, from September 1981 until February 1982, a clear majority supported the president. Yet, for a long third period, from March 1982 until March 1983, the president was supported by only his base constituency, about 40% of the population. Moreover,
that's a pretty big constituent population.
Just to be clear, it means that at the beginning, people who didn't vote for him approved him as president.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But God, there's also no mention of the fact that he was shot. That is just not.
No, he mentioned it twice.
Oh, okay, yeah, twice.
Yeah. You were just doing something else. Moreover, it is becoming clearer that the low point of approval was at the end of January 1983. By February, it had gone from 37% low back to 40%. That low point in the polls was reached just about the time that the Heritage Foundation was informing the administration that the chief executive had squandered his political capital and could only recover by a return to the hardline principles with which he had won the 1980 election. Among these, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're about to say it. Among these, said its Agenda 83 report, Project 2025. Anyone? Was the need to get the wealthy off what amounted to welfare by business subsidies. President Reagan appears inconsistent, said the think tank with ties to former White House officials. Yeah, you don't say. The poor, believing that the president has been unwilling to cut subsidies to middle and upper income Americans, conclude that Reagan is out to get them. Man, we should just...
There are 700 people listening to us read boilerplate Reaganite.
Oh my God. We appreciate every single one of you. We appreciate every single person who is listening to this dreck. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get on to something.
Come on, Wendy.
Something
Come on,
meaty.
Wendy.
I can't. The last book. There is no mass destruction in this book.
Yeah,
this is just really slow generational destruction. It's so much worse and has such a higher body count, and also is not fun at all. God damn it! Like, give me a terrorist, please. Dear Lord, that was only half of it. Then what happened? The big banking boys on the inside got their share again. Consider how the little guy got whipsawed. With the big banks in trouble, the average man who must meet a family budget bailed out the one-worlders who are above that sort of thing. Consider
the one-worlders?
Yeah. That's the insiders or the internationalists. Globalists. Make the frogs gay. Those ones, Consider the 9 largest American international banks had a total of $21 billion in total capital, as the Conservative Caucus reported in the spring of 1983. These institutions had lent the communist Eastern European countries $4 billion and the less developed countries another $61 billion before trouble set in. So the bankers wanted Uncle Sam to produce more money. Under the aegis of the world banking fraud called the International Monetary Fund. Oh, God. Which would then allow the debtor nations to repay some of those bad loans to the big banks. This is how the New World Order is built, you see. Having lent 2 1/2 times their capital to borrowers who could not or would not repay, the international bankers got a conservative president to dun the man in the American street. I mean, true enough. The Americans are a put upon and beleaguered group who are at once the destructors and the benefactors of the rest of the fucking world. Gary Allen has remarked in this book. Are we citing ourselves?
He's done that a couple of times.
Gary Allen has remarked that probably the most damning indication the president may be in the pocket of the mega bankers is his unrelenting personal support for the bill, since passed, authorizing an increase of over $8.4 billion in America's contribution to the IMF. This money would in turn be loaned by the IMF to deadbeat third world governments to help them make interest payments on the gargantuan debts they owe to the big banks. Sadly, the Reagan administration even opposed and defeated an amendment to the bill which would have banned the use of such funds to bail out communist regimes. This is the policy of an anti-communist government? Yeah, I mean, obviously we know the point of that money is to gain leverage specifically on communist governments. So it would have defeated the fucking purpose of the money to not send it to them. Like, that was the point. I don't know what to say. Wonderland Shadow sends $6. When are y'all going to stop pussyfooting around and read the Perestroika Deception?
We got to finish this one. We got
to finish this one. We always finish books. We always finish books.
I'm finishing. We're finishing my coffee.
We're finishing it. We're gonna finish it. God damn it. This is
book number 3.
Number 3.
We can't start developing a reputation.
You can't DNF a book. Yeah, you can't DNF a book out of book read through. Look, for all of this, like tedium, this None Dare Call It Conspiracy and Call It Conspiracy were important for.
They're historically important texts.
Yeah, they're historically important texts. The fact that it is tedious and that it does not feel like it is revealing anything new is because the observations of the way that power works
they've become banal.
Government is banal.
Banal.
Yes, banal. Yes,
you Europeans.
Banality and banal.
Banal.
Yeah,
there were some things in grad school that everybody always got me on. Is that one? I also say I say hegemony now. I used to say hegemony.
I used to say tangentially instead of tangentially.
Yeah.
So
everybody gets that one. Everybody gets that one.
Everyone gets that one. Everyone gets that one. Yeah. As if to flaunt its power, the Internationalist Trilateral Commission even wrangled an invitation to the White House itself in 1984. News coverage was prohibited. Acting as host was the president, Reagan's left-hand man, Richard Darman, the protege of establishmentarian Elliot Richardson, who was so dubbed by Time magazine. briefed the trilats. Once again, de-staffing with liberals in the Reagan White House had left its mark. Darman was the final stop in getting the president his news through his first term. And the left-winger said upon his appointment as deputy to the president and deputy to the chief of staff that James Baker was my sole entry into the new administration. So it came to pass that President Reagan on April Fool's Day feted the trilateralists. Although United Press International noted that the White House gave the event a low profile, being careful to avoid annoying conservatives who form a vital part of Reagan's political base. Yet, founder David Rockefeller apparently wanted to get the word out to those who may have missed the event, and publicly said that President Reagan told at this event of his belief in and support for what we are doing. Reagan's meeting with TC, asserted Chairman David, is significant and very appropriate. Significant, very appropriate, and totally legal. Continued the and I'm not a cop, he said. Continued the international power broker. There are still fringe groups who oppose us, but most of it, the criticism, has died down. Said Mr. Rockefeller to those who believe in the Tooth Fairy and other myths, the Trilateral Commission has not turned out to be a subversive group trying to control the world. Contending, I don't think it has any direct impact on anybody. A reassuring message. Not to worry, folks. Ain't nobody here but us mega bankers. Mega bankers could be here. Mega bankers could be here. I hate mega. I've never been to this international organization before.
I just imagine we should go. I imagine us showing up like Dumb and Dumber in the like orange and blue suits, you know.
Oh my god. Let me see what Wonderland Shadow for $3 sends a super sticker. You can't see it on the platform that we are using right now, but if you go to YouTube, you will see a hippopotamus in a yellow shirt waving at us in front, waving its fist in front of a sign that says "Next time."
Damn.
So, thanks for that, and thanks YouTube for having such strange stickers for people to send to us by using money. Wonderland Shadow also asked, was Sandy's brain hurt in the accident? Did you get thoroughly checked? Check mark.
I did. Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah, you're not gonna get Phineas gauged.
This is the first day that lights have looked normal.
Nice. Like, no more halos.
Yeah, no halos.
Let's see. I may have lost my place. Oh, there we go. Thomas Jefferson, thinking otherwise, cautioned that I sincerely believe the banking institutions are more dangerous to liberty than standing armies. But perhaps David Rockefeller would put the author of the Declaration of Independence down as a member of a fringe group. I fucking hate it when people fucking do that. You just randomly quote a founding father completely out of context. I mean, like, I get it. Like, he didn't like central banking, and like, we probably shouldn't have had it, but I don't know. That's dull propaganda, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But perhaps we have more than agreement.
No. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm nodding along.
Yeah. I get it. But perhaps David Fringe Group did not. David tell us that the top elitists in the Western world have no direct impact on anyone, and is not David an honorable man who has been reassured? Certainly not the new right. Speaking of criticism by Richard Viguri, publisher of Conservative Digest, Howard Phillips, chairman of the Conservative Caucus, and others who helped get Reagan into the Oval Office, Time magazine reported, the White House is annoyed by not especially worried by the thunder on the far right. When are they going to elect a more conservative president than Ronald Reagan in this century? Asked presidential assistant Michael Deaver. Never.
Never
As
is
for
the
Phillips,
answer.
never is true. Yeah. As for Phillips, Figuri, and the rest, Deaver has run out of fraternal feeling. Screw him, he says, and you can quote me. I feel like that was actually directly taken in The West Wing, to be honest. I feel like that was probably a line.
It's like giving me flashbacks to like dinners I had with old men at steakhouses. I can hear some of this shit in their voices.
God, please! I want a ribeye right now so bad. I want a fucking I want a fucking Delmonico. Actually, that's what I want.
A Delmonico?
Yeah. I want a dry aged Delmonico.
Sounds good.
Deaver and Baker had become, as noted on the political right by Human Events and on the left by the New Republic, the big two running the White House for the president. All the pressure, a conservative ally was recently quoted as saying, is going to come from the wrong side. And Morton Condrake advised readers of the left-wing New Republic to count their blessings. Even before the 1984 re-election, liberal Democrats, he said, might think of the first term as a raucous, ideological, and polarizing, but it might have been much worse. The pragmatists were in charge of everything in early 1984, acknowledged editor Condrake. They have, he continued, been able to moderate Reagan tax cuts with a gasoline tax increase and the 1982 corporate tax adjustment, to lower exorbitant Pentagon budget requests, to prevent an all-out fight for a constitutional amendment banning abortion, to counsel caution in cutting social programs, and to discourage foreign policy adventures such as going to the source, i.e. Cuba, to stop communism in Central America. It's not clear how much the pragmatists act out of moderate Republican conviction and how much out of the perception of the need to cooperate with Congress and operate somewhere near the mainstream of American politics in order to succeed. Either way, though, things would have been very different if Baker and company had not been in charge. Pragmatism prevented anything being done by the White House when Korean Airlines Flight 007 was shot down by the Soviets on September 1st, 1983, with the murder of 269 innocents, including Georgia Congressman Larry McDonald, the anti-communist chairman of the John Birch Society, who became the first elected U.S. official killed by the Soviet armed forces. There was a flurry of rhetoric, although in his September 2nd statement, the president could not bring himself to mention, excuse me.
A yawn. There's a yawn.
There's a yawn. The congressman's name. On September
I'm surprised
17th,
you made it this far, actually.
Yeah.
Like, really, actually. This is hard going, chat. I don't know what we're gonna do. You should need some super chats.
Yeah, you should need some super chats to keep me fucking awake. On September 17th, Reagan claimed, history will say that this tragedy was a major turning point because this time the world did not go back to business as usual. This was untrue. As commentator Jeffrey St. John put it,
Uh-oh, him again.
11 days after the Soviets destroyed KAL-007, the Kremlin's state-controlled news media expressed the conviction that worldwide revulsion would be brief. It would not affect what one Moscow television commentator termed the structure of détente. That cynical conclusion was well-founded. Yeah. It's I mean, pretty wild that occurred. And also, I mean, it is not talked about, essentially, right? Essentially, like nobody ever mentions that the Soviet Union blew up a congressman, but I think it's probably because
they did it a couple of times. Like they're like a couple of, like, even down to the Jim Jones thing. That's like also.
You think that was the Soviets?
There's arguably.
You think Jonestown was the Soviets?
Yeah,
I think that there was Russian money involved in it because he was obviously starting a communist group.
Yeah,
but it's also a very different thing.
I think a bunch of Soviet shit was going on down there, and
well, then why didn't he just stay in San Francisco to do Soviet shit there?
Because look, I don't like.
There's like a whole
gut feeling. It's a gut feeling.
Okay. I mean, I think so. So basically, you're saying that the reason that they killed the senator was Soviet shit.
I smell sprats all over the place.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Sprats and vodka. I got the good scent for it. Good
Wonderland
nose for
Shadow sends $6 dues. Capitalisimo, what is in your third way starter pack? And Sandy, have you read Conference of Birds, the Persian poetry, translated by Shole Wolpe?
Shole Vulpa. That sounds like a fucking Polish name. No, I don't actually read Persian poetry. I've been reading a lot of Arabic poetry, but not actually Persian. I've been reading a lot of Andalusian Arabic or sort of Berber poetry, but not actually much of the Persian. Oh, there it goes again. Oh my god, I thought I'd gotten away with it. It's supposed to be muted. This phone is new. Sorry. I'm turning it off.
Wonderland Shadow also sends another super sticker, which again you can't see on the platform we're using, but it is a face with spirals for eyes and an open mouth, like an ahigao.
It's funny, we can see them, but they don't show up on the feed.
We can't see them. I have YouTube open in another tab.
Oh, okay. So they can see them, but we can't.
Yeah, they can see them if they're on YouTube. That's right. The third way starter pack. I don't know. It's the Gestalt arrival at that I have reached. Italian futurists are pretty keen about it. So read Marinetti, I guess.
Oh my god, Italian futurists. The Russian futurists are superior.
Create
a fandom chat.
On the other hand, they're Slavs, so
it's true.
Inherently inferior. But I mean, there are plenty of wonderful things that will lead you to the secret third thing. I actually haven't read Il Duce at all. I haven't read any. But I probably should.
I have, but I'm not a fascist, so it's all like sort of.
I'm also not a proper bundle of sticks. But let's see. Okay, and Wonderland Shadow also sends us a $1.49 and a slice of cake, and I'm pretty sure he's doing this specifically so that I have to go into a different tab and check what the fuck he is actually saying.
Now you know how it feels to be the monkey.
FBI informant, why be a fascist when you can be a Democrat? It's the same picture.
It's exactly true.
It's the same picture.
Democrats are the real fascists, but for real, and it's based. That's the. Oh my god! I am still blown away. No, we can't go there right now.
Oh my god! You know what? we should do this show on Twitter. I mean, not Twitter, Twitch.
Is it not streaming to Twitch?
No, we're not on Twitch. That'd be hilarious if we were on. People would be dropping bits. Get a nice overlay that animates whenever people do things. Wonderland Shadow sends a picture of a corgi giving a thumbs up for $2. Yeah,
what a fucking strange world.
This is what
you can send us a picture.
I will tell you what the picture is. If someone sends
If you pay us a small amount of money,
I will describe a tiny image to you.
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's right in my sense of humor.
That's right. I will. Ice cream, yum. Yes. Ice cream, so good. Yes. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do the TikTok brain rot thing. All right. It's better than the list of ships, right?
But the thing about the list of ships is the list of ships does have to be completed.
The list of ships does have to be completed. That's true. We can't just brain rot about it. Anyway. Trade, even high-tech transfers to the Reds, continues as though the Russian bear had rolled over and played dead. Instead of preparing for our funeral, President Reagan has sought more arms control agreements with the Kremlin, even though it is violating many of those pacts to which it is already a signatory. The president's own panel, the General Advisory Committee on Arms Control and Disarmament, released in October of 1984 an unclassified summary of its secret report charging the USSR with breaking half of the agreements it has made in the past 25 years, having found recurring instances of Soviet conduct involving deliberate deception, misdirection, and falsification of data during negotiations. However, the liberal Washington Post noted the president distanced himself from the report. As for the massive buildup of U.S. military, it has just not happened. At somewhat over 26% of the total budget, it is a tad higher than that spent by Jimmy Carter, but lower than the 1975 percentage under Gerald Ford, not to mention the 45% in 1989. And where are the new weapons? Asked the Heritage Foundation in its national security record. Conservative Pat Buchanan, union leader, December 3rd, 1984, likewise notes, last time they called him Patrick Buchanan in this very chapter.
It's, he's Uncle Pat.
Yeah. Likewise notes, in strategic missiles and bombers, the United States is weaker today than when Jimmy Carter took office. We cannot allow that's right. We cannot allow a strategic bomber gap. Telegram Capitalisimo. I have a Telegram. Or do I? It's secret. What is Wonderland Shadow? Create a fandom chat, Capitalisimo. Sandy can't be trusted to maintain it. Lol, come on. What do you mean a fandom chat, by the way? Like, do you just mean...
He means like a Discord, which totally
we have a
exists.
Discord.
Yeah,
there's a
totally
Discord.
Exists.
There's a link to a Discord in the YouTube section, in the YouTube comment section. Like, it's in the video description. Like, it's open now. I know it works because it's a fresh link from today. So, yeah.
EL says tell a gay when Cap is using it.
Why would you inform them? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
The informant says Discord is for furries.
Gabe literally there is a channel that Gabe manages on the Tookies Mag Discord that is called the Gabian Goon Cave. And it is exactly what you think it is. So anyway, over the first 4 years of the Reagan administration, the New York Times reported just before the 1984 election, arms control went from being low on the agenda to near the top. The Soviet Union was transformed from the evil empire to a necessary negotiating partner. Speaking of our military power and the strategic nuclear window of vulnerability which Ronald Reagan said we faced, the Times commented that to whatever extent the window was open to begin with, nothing of any magnitude has been deployed close to it. Let's see. Capitalisimo, do you have a Telegram chat? For God's sake, $5. I don't have a Telegram chat. I have a Telegram account that I chat in with other people, but I don't have.
I had a Telegram chat, but I nuked
and you nuked it for no reason. Well,
the Telegram chats come and go.
They do. And Discord is for femboys to evangelize truism. So true, King. Anyway, so the Tookies Mag has a Discord. So two things can be true. Let's see. I mean, it's pretty funny that they were talking about how much Reagan is weakening the U.S. stance with regards to the Soviet Union when, of course, we know what happens in the future from the perspective of this book.
This is like one of these things where I'm withholding my take on that.
Yeah. What is your take? You think that Reagan
we would have to go into another book called The Perestroika Deception.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Give me the TLDR because I am going to DR.
the Soviet Union doesn't collapse.
Oh, it doesn't. Oh, this is where the Soviet Union doesn't collapse, and it still exists secretly.
Well, it transitions into America, and like we're the sort of Trotskyite regime.
I mean, okay, whatever.
Okay, whatever. But no, it's important stuff.
It's important.
You gotta tell all your friends about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
This is a little LaRoucheite stuff.
Look. I mean, fuck the neocons, obvious Trotskyites. But like, I don't know, man.
I don't have to tell you who Lyndon LaRouche is.
I know. No, you don't.
Yeah,
but also, like reading any of the literature that came out of Russia in the 1990s, like really like reading Victor Pelevin.
Oh man,
demonstrates to you the crisis of the Russian psyche when they had to like encounter like the broader global world. It was catastrophic to them to have commerce enter the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And that alone is like completely impossible to fake evidence that the Soviet Union really did collapse. Like, yeah, I mean,
something happened.
The primary source and the social evidence of it is just.
I agree. Trees fell somewhere.
Yeah.
Notice I'm not giving in totally.
I know you're not. It's whatever. I like it. It's a cute idea. I haven't read it, so I don't know. Maybe I would be convinced.
Probably not, but it's but yeah, okay, yeah. Like Continuinsky.
Continuinsky. Yeah. After citing the disturbing specifics in this area in a report that transcends domestic political labels, military analyst Jeffrey Record concluded, in the category of strategic nuclear forces, the centerpiece of the administration's military program, the past 4 years has witnessed an actual decline in force levels, notwithstanding massive infusions of money and a determination to reduce the strategic nuclear threads of the 1970s. The window of American vulnerability to a Soviet first strike has remained open. There are many myths and even more disturbing truths about Ronald Reagan and his performance in his first 4 years in the White House. His liberal biographer Lou Cannon must admit that the president has not dismantled the New Deal, and he has not really altered the fundamental structure of the welfare society his administration inherited. The departments of energy and education, for instance, remained 4 years later, just as they had when the candidate vowed to do away with them. Spending and deficits exceed by many tens of billions the profligacy of Jimmy Carter, a far cry from the balanced budget promised by Reagan in 1983 and the budget surplus of $93 to $121 billion by 1985. At times, the new Reagan rhetoric would have brought a blush to the cheek of FDR, or even Franklin Roosevelt paid lip service to the fact that the dole should be a temporary expedient, as it was a narcotic. Yet Reagan adds to the confusion by, on one hand, pretending to have reduced the budget, but in actuality only changing the growth rate. The flip side,
ridiculous thing to go into right here, but whatever.
Points out that the Washington Post is that Reagan also tries to make spending a virtue when he wants to refute charges that he has hurt the poor. We can show that in every instance, in every program, we are spending more money and helping more people than ever before in their history, he says. I could have done the voice, whatever. If a Democrat did it, the practice would be called socialist by the GOP. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Super sticker. Oh boy, Wonderland Shadow, what have you done to me now? Let's see. We have an exasperated face with its eyes cloaked in shadow, looking fearful and shocked.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, let's see. Sandbatch is going to unleash his poetry reading in order to explain the fall of the USSR. We already have Victor Pelavin. Sandbatch could just read that.
Yeah, it's totally, it's wild shit. You should go read Victor Pelavin.
Yeah, and triple parentheses are apparently banned. Lol.
Oh,
yeah, it's crazy.
You should check to see if that's true on Super Chats.
No. That's not. Oh yeah. Yes, you should. I have no idea. Figure it out. Yeah, we got all the way through. We got through Reagan's first term and didn't mention Murray Rothbard once. It's crazy. Also, he mentioned George H.W. Bush and didn't mention that he was only mentioned that he was on the Trilateral Commission.
Isn't that significant?
Didn't mention that he was the head of the CIA.
Aren't you suspicious?
I'm a little suspicious. It's a little weird. Like, I mean, we're playing curious favorites, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Recall how Jerry Ford claimed that no one to his right could be elected president. Well, Reagan proved that incorrect. A conservative platform was elected along with the candidate that seemed to believe in it, but the implementation of that platform is sadly lacking. Walter Mondale, with his promises of increasing taxes by $85 billion, was not about to supplant the Gipper. Reagan, thanks for clarifying that when you said the Gipper, you meant Reagan. So, the 1984 elections came and went, with the Mondale-Ferraro duo proving one of the worst in presidential election history. The American people had once again rejected overwhelmingly the old politics and cast their vote for conservative principles. Mondale's only memorable line during the entire campaign sums up perfectly the reality of the situation. Where's the beef? A Wendy's ad, a rather notable Wendy's ad. There has been a little personnel movement. Donald Reagan to the White House, Jim Baker to Treasury, Deaver to private life, Pat Buchanan to communications.
Oh man, we're really descending into this is what every member of the Reagan administration does. They track the personnel staffing of the Reagan administration like a fucking Major League Baseball scorecard.
Yeah.
It's the only thing they ever talk about too.
And Gene Kirkpatrick back to the halls of the Academy.
Yeah, Gene Kirkpatrick to the Angels for 3 players to be named later.
Do we care? No. Why? He gets on base. That's right. But the real policy positions are still firmly in the grip of the CFR and the State Department, Defense Department, the CIA, and every other place of real importance. As we look ahead to 88, the picture becomes even more disturbing. The conservatives do not have a candidate, but as has been the case time after time over the past 70-odd years, the insiders do in both
The Council on Foreign Relations is here, and they've got a guy.
They've got a guy. They know a guy who can do the thing. As you read these words, George H.W. Bush, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commissions, and the Order is gearing up to assume is gearing up to assume the most powerful position in the world. Since Bush has proven himself unelectable, his elevation to the presidency may well come through a Reagan resignation or worse. On the other side of the aisle, the Democrats are getting ready to field a team that could include Lee Iacocca. Have you ever read the Lee Iacocca autobiography?
Absolutely.
It's great. It's a wonderful. He saved what, Chrysler?
Yeah,
Save Chrysler. Doesn't really exist anymore, sadly, but whatever. Bill Bradley of the Council on Foreign Relations, Mario Cuomo on the Council of Foreign Relations. Man, two Dagos. Looking up.
Notice also we're starting to splash familiar names now.
Yeah, Jay Rockefeller on the Council on Foreign Relations. In any combination, in either case, wow, it did not see Dukakis coming, did he? In any combination, in either case, the insiders have their bases covered. unless the mask of respectability is firmly and finally ripped away from the faces of those who do the bidding for the conspiracy. As for Ronnie Reagan, I am sad to report he has not fought the establishment, but has become one with it. Where is the substance behind the shadow, the hoped-for leader making a rendezvous with history? Too much government is still the evil. Too much government run by a conspiracy seeking ever more power through whatever means it can, on the way towards the goal of a new world order.
The right has been on this great man shit forever.
Yeah,
forever. It's the same thing over and over. Thank you for joining in with us in our read along of the same thing over and over
and over. You remember, you're here forever. The ride hath no end. The train haven't brakes. Yeah. It's where we are now. I'll create Wonderland Shadow is going to create a LMD fandom chat and post the link next time, boys and girls. There ain't no girls watching except for Wendy Painting PhD. Hopefully, fingers crossed, she's still powering through this.
So glad you said crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Is this an MK Ultra op? What day is it?
July 28th,
we are instilling the way that this book is beating it into you is definitely part of the DDD method. I am experiencing significant debility. I am experiencing dependency. I feel like the only thing I have that's anchoring me to this world is this surety that there will be another list of ships of people that belong.
What if this book ends and we all start having dreams about its absence
on the Council on Foreign Relations?
Yeah.
Call it conspiracy. It goes Nundir, call it conspiracy, and then call it conspiracy, and then a call for conspiracy is the third one.
We're going to start seeing coded messages from the Council on Foreign Relations in our cereal boxes.
You eat cereal?
No.
Well,
no.
Then how are you going to see it? You better go buy some cereal.
I was gonna say
the code.
Our copy of the New York Times, but I didn't want to seem out of date.
The code says drink more Ovaltine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all an Ovaltine ad. Yep, that's right. Well, folks, the MVP this go around has been Wonderland Shadow, who has an overwhelming majority of the supers.
Both the stickers, all of the stickers,
100% of. He has currently sitting on 100% of the stickers this channel has ever received. A dubious kind of designation, but nonetheless, we certainly appreciate. Yeah. We're gonna have a different book pretty soon. So this book ends approximately on page 290. We got through 30 pages today. I'm sure we will get through the same amount on subsequent episodes. And so that means that there are two more episodes left of Call It Conspiracy, most likely.
And then we'll have Wendy pop out of a cake and reveal the next book.
That's right. Wendy,
Dr. Wendy.
Wendy Painting PhD is the preferred. You got to say the whole thing. It's like my name is
I'm gonna call her Dr. Wendy.
Dr. Wendy. Thanks, yeah. Dr. Wendy. I surely do appreciate it. That's right. I'll hold down the the weird voices. Anyway, so what do you got going on the rest of the week, Mr. Sandbatch?
I've got to get back on the Substack because it's been like a week since I've written anything, but I haven't been writing much because I've been doing so much editing. It's just a fucking slog. But I'll be done with something soon. Very soon.
The slog of slogs.
Yeah, I told you it's like I did this. I did publish a little bit about my William Blake fantasy, but you know how Kindle Direct Publishing, they tend to be like really shitty books.
I sure do.
Like, like the typesetting is really shitty. And I've determined
you
that
can change that. You can control that.
You can sort of, but like there's like
there's actually pretty good granularity in what you can do with a KDP book. If actually you I hesitate to recommend this particular thing, but our colleague on the channel, David Herod, is really good at formatting books in KDP.
Yeah, what I've done is I wrote my own software to do it. So.
Oh, great, wonderful.
Because that's the way I do things. Like
that's how I do. I vibe coded the thing to do it.
Totally did. I absolutely vibe.
I'm sure you did.
Vibe coded a typesetting algorithm.
Just vibing.
It's interesting though, because what it does is it constructs each page as a vector image, and then also simultaneously constructs a text file.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We are going to call it there. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you next time on Library of Mass Destruction.
You're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent, provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them and punishment if you don't, but they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks. The leaders try to control you and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity. If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty unto its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life. Without realizing it, you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.